Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Naruto. Tsunade is so fired up, I have a emotional system. Chapter 21. Shimura Danzo was angry. He felt that he had done his best for Konoha. In the end, it was so calculated by his old teammates. It's just too deceitful. It took a long time for Tuanzang to breathe down and asked in a deep voice. What else did Apefei say? Uchiha Ryu continued. Don't be angry, Lord Danzo. Quote, 3 generations of adults told me that he didn't doubt you. Quote, it's just that he, as the Hokage, is at the helm of the entire Konoha and should know anything that happens to Konoha. Quote, when Shimura Danzo heard this, his face became more and more gloomy. Hokage, it's the Hokage again, although he only has the word, assist, added. But status, after all, is a world of difference. Ding. Shimura Tuanzang has a strong, unwilling, emotion, reward, wind escape, vacuum jade. Ha, Shimura sneered. Did he tell you that you must not tell the old man about these things? Uchiha Ryu was stunned. You. How do you know? Tuanzang snorted coldly. After so many years, I know him too well. But since the monkey told me so, why did you come and tell the old man? As he spoke, his gaze as sharp as a falcon stared at the Uchiha Ryu. Uchiha Ryu shook his head and said solemnly, because Danzo-sama is my savior. Quote, moreover, Lord Danzo doesn't care about the appearance of Glossy, and willingly guards Konoha in secret, which is the person I admire the most. Quote, so, yesterday in front of Hokage-sama, I firmly chose Danzo-sama. Quote, it's a pity that Hokage-sama insisted that I go to the shadow. But even so, I just want to be the sharpest knife under Danzo-sama. Quote, no matter what, I won't hide it from Danzo-sama. Quote, good, good. Shimura was overjoyed. He is worthy of being valued by the old man. His mind kept thinking, monkey, monkey, do you think you planted a nail in my root? Didn't expect that, right? In fact, the old man has buried a chess piece next to you. From now on, everything that happens around you, the old man will know everything about it. And the old man, what I want you to know, you can know. The deep-thinking Tuanzang had already conceived several prototypes of plans in just a few seconds. He suddenly discovered, it seems that there is a lot of value in having such a double agent who is loyal to himself. If you use it properly, you may even be able to use fake news to manipulate the monkey for your own use. Shimura Tuanzang is also an absolute human spirit. But he didn't doubt Uchiha Ryu's loyalty to him at all. Ultimately, it's the Uchiha stream who is too skilled in this wave of self-detonation. Tuanzang thinks, if the Uchiha Ryu really favored Sarutobi, then there was no need for him to tell himself what happened last night. Wouldn't it be safer for God to be a spy for Apefei unknowingly? Thinking of this, Danzo's eyes became more and more hot as he looked at Uchiha Ryu. Seeing this, the corners of Uchiha's mouth rose slightly. How to quickly gain the trust of your boss, tip 2. Take the initiative to hand the handle to the boss. But, just to gain initial trust, Uchiha Ryu certainly won't be satisfied. His short-term goal is to be the #1 general, under Lord Tuanzang. This brings us to tip 3. Make your boss suspicious of other subordinates. In this way, it is equivalent to increasing one's own value in disguise. Or credibility. This foreshadowing, Uchiha stream had already been planted yesterday. Now he's going to add a little fire. So, when Tuanzang asked him if Sarufe had anything to say, Uchiha Ryu tilted his head and recalled for a long time before he said with some uncertainty. After I superficially agreed to Hokage-sama's orders. Quote, he seemed to smile and muttered something. In this way, the old man has two, at the root. It seems to be such a sentence, but I really didn't hear it clearly. Quote, Nani, Shimura frowned, be vigilant immediately. The thought in my heart was racing. Two what? What is it? Are they 2 spies? Monkey mean, I had a spy at my roots. No, it can't be. The members of the root are all carefully selected and strictly trained, by the old man. Wait, Tuanzang's heart jumped. Could it be this Uchiha stream, united with Sarutobi, who is calculating the old man, the game? Let the old man be suspicious of the original members of the roots. Quote, Destroy my roots from within. Come to mind. Shimura Danzo looked at the Uchiha Ryu again, and immediately became cold. Ding. Shimura Tunzo has a strong suspicion, emotion, reward, wind escape, vacuum blade. How can someone who can sit in this position be a fool? Tuan Zhang was immediately vigilant. Even, I have vaguely guessed the truth of the matter. But, right now, suddenly, a root ninja broke in a panic. Before Danzo could attack, the root ninja shouted. Regiment, Danzo-sama. Oh no, the 3 generations of Hokage have surrounded my root base with a large number of shadows. What? Tuan Zhang heard this, and at first he was a little incredulous. Immediately after, he turned his head and glared at the Uchiha stream. The expression seemed to say, you brought the enemy here. Ding. Shimura Tunzang has a strong anger, emotion, reward, wind escape, shuriken. However, the root ninja immediately said another word. 3 generations of Hokage said, let Tuanzang-sama at once immediately hand over the hidden test specimens. Quote. Otherwise, he will lead a team to come in and forcibly search. Nani. Shimura Danzo heard this, and stood up suddenly, his face changed wildly. At this moment, all his doubts about the Uchiha stream immediately disappeared. Because, he has always hidden, in the root base, and he hid it well. Yamato's code name at the root is, closing parenthesis. Even, the vast majority of root ninjas don't know that such a person exists. It's only been a few minutes since Uchiha Ryu came to the root base, and it's impossible to know about the existence of, How the hell did the monkey know the, of, question mark. The answer seems to be on the horizon. Roots, there really have been spies of ape flying and slashing for a long time. It's very consistent with the news that Uchiha stream just, inadvertently, revealed. System space. 1,000 hands laughed out loud. Ha ha ha. The monkey has come to search the roots. The evil imp of the Uchiha family, those nonsense you made up are about to be revealed. The old man wants to see how you died today. Evil Uchiha imp, those nonsense you made up are about to be revealed. The old man wants to see how you died today. Senju's tone was quite confident. No way. Through the live broadcast, he is completely clear. The so-called rootwood ninja is simply made up by Uchiha stream's brain. Even if you dig 3 feet into the ground, it is impossible to conjure up a wooden ninja again. Faced with the open champagne in advance, between the 1,000 hands, Uchiha Ryu just sneered. Stupid 1,000-armed old ghost, let's wait and see. Quote. Cut. Senju pouted disdainfully. Now, what's the use of you being stubborn? Inside the office, Shimura Danzo sat back in his chair with a gloomy and terrible face. Okay, you're an ape. Do you want to take away the 2 wooden ninjas from the old man? Exclamation mark. This time, the old man said that nothing would make it easy for you to get your wish. It's just, I'm afraid the scene will be ugly at that time. Come to mind, Shimura Danzo suddenly said to Uchiha Stream. Stream, the old man is going to meet the 3 generations of Hokage. Quote. Don't be here yet, undo the wood clone technique. Quote. I'll report back to the roots tomorrow. Quote. Uchiha Ryu's wooden clone pretended to be stunned. The lie came as soon as he opened his mouth, Lord Tuanzang, but I'm the essence. Me, in the shadows as the wooden clone. Quote. Oh, Tuanzang heard this, and his heart was slightly happy. Sure enough, this kid is still more loyal to the old man. But at the same time, there are some worries. In case the old man loses later, wouldn't it damage the image in the child's heart? He immediately advised, okay then. Quote. You just stay in this office and don't go out no matter what's going on outside. Quote. Got it, Uchiha Ryu. Understood. Danzo-sama. Shimura nodded slightly and stood up again. I took care of the bandages on my body quite formally, and then strode out of the office. The root ninja from before naturally followed. The Uchiha Ryu's wooden clone, the corners of his mouth slightly raised, looked lightly at the outside. Don't watch a good show for yourself. What's more, I have to broadcast live to the undead in the system space. Otherwise, how can you stimulate them? Outside. Wearing a Hokage robe, Ape Flying Sun Slash stood solemnly in the center of the base, standing with his hands in his hands. Behind him, there are dozens of dark elites who are waiting for them. Compared with these people, the dozen or so root personnel on the opposite side seemed so thin. When Tuan Zhang saw this battle, his heart suddenly sank. But he still stubbornly asked, Ape Fei, what do you mean by that? I heard that the old man is here to ask for some kind of wooden ninja. The old man has no, at all. Who knows, the attitude of the ape flying and slashing is quite tough. Directly waved his hand to interrupt Tuan Zhang's words, Tuan Zhang. Don't say anything if you lie to a child. Since the old man is here, he must be sure. Or, hand them over quickly. Quote. Or, the old man will send someone to search your entire route today. Ape fly, you. Shimura Danzo's eyes widened suddenly. He obviously didn't expect that the ape fairy, who has always been gentle, would have such a tough attitude today. I don't even save him any face. It seems. This is determined to take away the he has cultivated for many years. Half a day, Shimura Danzo said with a gloomy face. Ape Fei, the old man can hand over people to you. Quote. But, how did you know this top secret news? Should you also give an explanation to the old man? System space. All the undead were shocked. Especially the 1,000 hands that had opened the champagne in advance, and almost jumped up directly. What kind of route is this? There really is a wood ninja. Where did Konoha come from so many people who awakened Mudun? Ding. Thousands of hands have a strong shock, emotion, reward, water escape, water trumpet technique. No wonder he was so surprised. You know, even in the Warring States period, the bloodline was extremely pure. There is only one person awakening Mudun among the 1,000 hands pillar. What's more, it seems that this matter is kept absolutely secret. Uchiha Ryu, this evil little imp, where did he know the news? Looking at how confident he has always been, he is definitely not blind. Could he have predicted the prophet? It can't be. Did the Uchiha clan secretly find out? I'm afraid it's the only way to explain. The thoughts in my heart turn sharply between the 1,000 hands. The more I think about it, the more I feel that this is the truth. The two idiots, Monkey and Danzo, are not in place at all to prevent the Uchiha clan. Ding. Thousands of hands have a strong, jealous, emotion, reward, water escape, water bullet. Outside, facing Tuan Zhang's questioning, Ape Fei's gaze seemed to flicker. Then he sneered, you don't need to worry about how the old man got the news. Quote. What you need to think about now is, reflect. Why do you want to collude with Orochimaru and conduct that kind of forbidden experiment in violation of regulations? Yaga. Tuan Zhang was furious when he heard this. Don't forget, experiment with the cells of the original Hokage and breed new wood ninjas. Quote. You came up with this idea in the first place. Ape Fei Chop was also furious. But the old man quickly stopped it. The cells of the adults between the columns are too aggressive, and those children can't bear it. The mortality rate is too high. And you, and Orochimaru, even dare to conduct this kind of experiment without permission. Shimura sneered, you don't have to pretend here. Watching the two go crazy dog eat dog. System space. Senju's eyes widened suddenly, furious. What the hell? Didn't the hidden wood ninja awaken on his own? Someone transplanted the cells of the eldest brother into the body of the child. Moreover, the first person to come up with this idea turned out to be Ape Fei. The ape flies and slashes, and you dare to desecrate my eldest brother's body. Ding. Thousands of hands generate strong anger, emotions, reward, water escape, hard vortex water blade. Madara Uchiha, who had been talking very little, suddenly spoke. Cut. What are you calling in the door? It's as if you're desecrating corpses less. Which of your forbidden techniques doesn't need a large number of test subjects? Fart. 1,000 hands burst into rage. Can that be the same? The old man uses all the ninjas of the enemy country. But I've never done anything to my fellow villagers. It is even more impossible to desecrate the corpses of our ancestors. The voice of the Uchiha stream also sounded at this time. Stupid 1,000-armed old ghost. Quote. Looks like you're angry. Quote. Really angry. Quote. Look at your two good disciples. Quote. What will happen to you in the end when you have cultivated them with all your might? They're going to do something about your big brother's body. Quote. Tut tut. These words really hit the sore spot between the thousands of hands. If it's an enemy of a foreign village, or a member of the Uchiha clan, desecrate the corpse between the pillars of 1,000 hands. Although he will be angry as much, he will not be as sad as he is now. Now, it's his eldest brother who is attacking, but the disciple he cultivated with his own hands. Thousands of hands, his eyes were blood red, and he shouted. Shut up, evil Uchiha imp. Ding. 1,000 hands have a strong, heartbreaking, emotion, reward, water escape, water prison technique. Ding. A strong, anger, emotion is generated between the 1,000 hand pillars, reward, wood escape, multiple wood clones technique. The 1,000 hands pillar slammed the floor and shouted. You also give me a mouth! Exclamation mark quote. I really don't know how you teach your disciples. Has always been very tough in front of his eldest brother. This time, he said in a trembling voice. Big brother, I'm sorry. Quote. I didn't know they would. Senjutsu shook his head and shouted, why don't you understand? It's not me you're sorry for. I'm already a dead person left and right. My body, if it moves, it's not a big deal. Quote. But, those children are innocent. The disciples you taught, especially that Shimura Danzo, didn't care about the lives of those innocent children at all. Village, how can it be handed over to such a person? Apparently, the two brothers have different minds and completely different concerns. Outside, the more noisy the two old dogs are, the more they get up. This says that hypocrisy. That's saying it's vicious. The old bottoms of the two were almost ruthlessly exposed in front of their respective subordinates. This wave, it's really a lose-lose situation. Actually, change to usual. Shimura Danzo would not be so unwise to go toe-to-toe with the Hokage. However, Ape Fei replanted a spy in front of his roots, and took away Mudun's armor in the back. It really annoyed him, and the usual ape flying day slash will not be as tough as today. However, Uchiha Ryu's remark yesterday that Danzo cares about his family made Sarutobi very annoyed. In addition, the group has a private collection of wood escape ninjas, and it is obvious that there is a big plan. Therefore, the ape flew to the sun and came today, with the purpose of beating the group hidden. Ultimately, it was provoked by the two ends of the Uchiha stream. These two old foxes were all angry. Naturally, it broke the tacit understanding of, I regret it, and the quarrel is suspended. Shimura Danzo blushed and yelled thickly. Even if the old man conducted an experiment in violation of the law, it was for the development of Konoha. Now that there have been results, the old man has personally cultivated that child for many years. Ape Fei, why did you take him away? The roots, but the old man is leading. Ape Fei looked directly at him and said coldly. The roots are led by you, yes. But that doesn't mean that the roots are your Shimura Danzo's private army. Don't forget, the old man is the Hokage, the supreme leader of the entire Konoha. Even if you are a member of the roots, you must obey the old man's orders. When he said this, a powerful momentum suddenly erupted from his short figure. At the same time, all the root ninjas behind him also pulled out their swords violently. At this moment, the ape flies and slashes, and there is no longer the kindness that is usually there. It seems that the spirit of Shinobio has been restored. Where the majestic gaze swept over, all the root ninjas trembled, lowered their heads and ape fly, you. Seeing this scene, Tuanzang was shocked and angry. These root members are all elites carefully selected by him. After his rigorous training and the accumulation of power over time, he established supreme authority. It can be said that before today, these root ninjas all regarded him Shimura Danzo as the only leader. It is the most profitable tool of his subordinates. But now, the ape flies in an almost brutal way, forcibly trampled on his authority. This makes him in the future, how to lead the roots again. After a while, the ape flew to the sun and slowly retracted the momentum. He said lightly, Tuanzang, hand over the people, and the old man will leave. Quote. As for you, reflect on it later. Put yourself in the right place. Tut tut. Uchiha Ryu, who was secretly watching, the corners of his mouth rose slightly. I didn't expect that the old ghost of Ape Fei would be so strong today. Quote. It seems that my provocation has worked surprisingly well. Quote. Really? In the face of such a strong ape flying sun, Shimura Danzo couldn't resist at all. After all, he couldn't really tear his face with the Hokage and get into a fight. Not to mention, even with hands on, the roots are at a complete disadvantage. In the end, he had to hand over, extremely unwillingly. Looking at the back of Sarutobi Hiza smiling and leading the child away, Danzo's face twitched unnaturally. Hokage assists! Exclamation mark. It's just 2 words, but it's a world of difference. Just because Sarutobi is the Hokage, you can ruthlessly trample on the dignity of his Hokage aided. You can take everything from him in 1 sentence. It's too much of a deception. Sarutobi, Shimura Danzo's fists clenched. Sooner or later, one day, the old man will also sit on the throne of the Hokage. His gaze swept to his subordinates. A group of rude elites all bowed their heads tightly, like frosted eggplants. Tuan Zhang's expression is faintly distorted. In front of these subordinates who are finally their own on weekdays, they seem to be a big force. But in fact, in the face of the ape flying sun, it has no effect at all. Especially now, my authority in their hearts is afraid that it will also plummet. What's more, Shimura Danzo hasn't forgotten. Among these people, there is also a spy planted by the ape flying sun. At this moment, Tuanzang suddenly felt a little confused. What is the point of my own painstaking management over the years? Also, the spy who is very hidden. Who the hell is it? Looking at the root members in front of him, who dodged their eyes and didn't dare to look at him. A sense of absurdity suddenly rose in Tuanzang's heart. Seems, each of them is very suspicious. What the hell is the old man? Who else can you trust? Shimura walked to his office a little dazed. The figure staggered. It was as if he had aged several years all of a sudden. No longer in high spirits. Until he pushed open the office door and saw the Uchiha Ryu who was concentrating on cultivation. Shimura Danzo's eyes lit up slightly. That's right. I still have this whole card. This kid, he's the latest to join. I saved it myself. It's pure. It's not polluted by the ape flying sun. He is the only person he can absolutely trust at the moment. The that has been cultivated for a long time was rudely taken away before it could be used. The prestige at the root has also plummeted. At this moment, Danzo feels as if he has been abandoned by the whole world. At times like these, suddenly I saw my diehard Uchiha stream. For Danzo, it's like a light in the dark. It almost made him feel like crying. Seeing that Tuanzang came back, Uchiha Ryu immediately stopped his cultivation and asked with a smile. Danzo-sama, is the matter settled? How's it going? When Shimura Tuanzang heard this, he felt a lot more relieved. Fortunately, the child was not there and did not know what was going on. In the minds of this child, the image of the old man has not been ruined. Still wise and wise. Thinking of this, Tuanzang pretended to be calm and said, yes, it's done. Quote, it's not a big deal. Quote, the old man's root organization is different from all the departments of Konoha and is completely independent. Quote, even if the Hokage wants to ask for someone from the old man, he needs to pay a price. Quote, the Uchiha was shocked and exclaimed, it's really worthy of Danzo-sama. It's amazing. I'm proud to be part of the roots. System space. The corners of his mouth twitched slightly. He really wanted to spit out a fragrant sentence. The evil imp of the Uchiha family. You're proud. Doesn't your conscience hurt if you lie so much? Really? The next moment, the voice of the Uchiha stream resounded in the system space. Tisk. Quote, stupid thousand-armed old ghost, look at the disciples you taught. Although he dared to be angry and didn't dare to speak out just now, he was really embarrassed. Quote, but it's really funny to have a dead duck in front of me now. Quote, ding, 1,000 hands have a strong, shame and anger, emotion, reward, water escape, fog hidden technique. Yaga snorted in a little anger between the 1,000 hands. He was furious, but I can't argue with. After all, this series of operations is collected. It's so humiliating. It made him want to wash the floor desperately, but he really couldn't find the angle. As a teacher of the group, Senjuma now just wants to find a crack in the ground to get into. But the things that made 1,000 hands angry were obviously far from over. After a wave of Shimura Danzo's forcible respect, He pinched his eyebrows a little tiredly. After a while, he said in a deep voice. Lu, the old man won't hide it from you. Quote, it looks like there really have been spies in our roots for a long time. Those people outside, all of them are suspicious. Now, the only person the old man can absolutely trust is you. The old man will leave this matter to you. With my token, all the mission records, personnel whereabouts, and all other documents in the route are open to you. Checking and verifying, or sneaking and stalking, or even torture. It's all up to you. I don't care what means the old man uses. In short, we must use the shortest possible time to dig out this deeply hidden spy. As he spoke, he handed a token to the Uchiha Ryu. Don't live up to the old man's expectations of you. System space. Ding. 1,000 hands have a strong despair, emotion, reward, water escape, instant water. Quote exclamation mark quote dot. Seeing this scene, Chinsho was completely desperate. Both of my apprentices are stupid. Was actually played like this by a little ghost who didn't have any hair. This evil Uchiha imp used a small information gap. It's completely a game between Sarutobi and Shimura Danzo. Not only separates the relationship between the two. Even I was, on top. On both sides, there is an extremely high level of trust. Especially Danzang, it's a stupid pig. So easily, I doubted the loyal subordinates I had cultivated for many years. On the contrary, he trusts an obviously rebellious fool. Now it's even more. Actually asked a spy to check on the spy. And also gave him great authority. It's really outrageous, it's outrageous, it's outrageous. I can't bear to imagine it between the 1,000 hands. In the future, the root organization will be harmed by the Uchiha. Even, this time, it's not just 1,000 hands. There are also several undead who were shocked by the Tianshou operation of Tuanzang. For a while, the rewards exploded. Ding. Bo Feng Shuaman produces a strong, speechless, emotion, reward, sealing technique, 4 elephant seals. Ding. Himu Shuamao has a strong, speechless, emotion, reward, 2 dun, 2 zhang ying fish technique. Ding. Uchiha Madara has a strong, shock, emotion, reward, fire escape, heroic fire extinguished. The Uchiha Ryu took the token and was moved to tears. He solemnly promised, Lord Tuanzang, my subordinates will do their best. And maybe it won't be that much trouble. Quote, since I'm a spy for the 3 generations of Hokage, and I'm nominally his spy. Quote, maybe, I can find out the news from the 3 generations. Quote, I really don't want to take a heavy hand on my colleagues at the root unless I have to. Quote, when Shimura heard this, he immediately trusted Uchiha Ryu even more. Sure enough, this kid is thinking about the old man. But, Shimura Danzo still shook his head firmly. No, kid, you don't understand what a scheming ape is to fly to the sun. Don't try to test his mind. Quote, otherwise, you yourself will be easily exposed. The Uchiha nodded heavily. Danzo-sama, I see. In that case, I'll go and check the file now. Quote, let's see if we can find some clues. Quote, go. Shimura looked at him with a wistful look on his face. Don't live up to the old man's expectations. The Uchiha grinned. Don't worry, Danzo-sama. I'm sure I'll surprise you. After saying that, he strode away. As a matter of fact, his heart is already about to bloom with joy. Dealing with the 2 old foxes, Sarutobi and Shimura Danzo, was even easier than he imagined. It's just a no-brainer. Moreover, Tuanzang actually took the initiative to open up the permission to access the root file to himself. What a considerate boss. And so it goes. The dirty and rotten things that the roots have done. Isn't it about to be presented in front of you? Uchiha Ryu can already imagine how shocked a guy with a character like Tsuruma would be when he saw those contents. When the time comes, the reward must not explode violently. Uchiha Ryu can already imagine how shocked a guy with a character like Tsuruma would be when he saw those contents. When the time comes, the reward must not explode violently. Inside the office, looking at the back of the Uchiha stream, a hidden light flashed in Shimura Danzo's eyes. The reason why he asked the Uchiha to consult the file. And not just to find out the spy. And one more important reason. He felt that the current Uchiha was, although he is loyal to Shimura Danzo, however, too kind. With such a character, how can you become the sharpest knife in your own hands? So, he had to let the Uchiha Ryu get in touch with the darkness of those roots. It would be even better if it could be stimulated to open the writing wheel eye because of this. Closing parenthesis. When the time comes, writing wheel eyes plus mu done, coupled with the old man's teachings, who else can resist? Before today, Shimura Danzang could slowly figure it out. But now, A was taken away, and those subordinates outside were not used, and there were even inner ghosts. Danzo felt a strong sense of urgency. He must let the good knife of Uchiha Ryu mature as soon as possible. The other side, the Uchiha Ryu has come to the archives of the roots. With the token of the Shimura group in hand, he can be said to be rampant at the root. No one dared to embarrass him. When the door to the archives was slowly pushed open, countless dossiers appeared in front of Uchiha Ryu's eyes. The corners of his mouth rose slightly. Transmission channels in the system space. Stupid thousand-armed old ghost. Quote, let's take a look at what good things your good apprentice has done over the years. Quote, there are a few other seniors, this place, you have never been here. Quote, let's all take a look. Quote, this root organization that claims to protect Konoha in the shadows, what kind of guardian method is it? Quote, listen to the undisguised sarcasm in his words. Thousand Hands snorted coldly, HMPH. Just look at it. The old man doesn't believe it. Tuanzang will always be so stupid. The Uchiha grinned, maybe it's not stupid, but it's bad. Instead of continuing to entangle with the Thousand Hands, the Uchiha Ryu casually picked up a dossier and flipped through it. 38 years of Konoha. Rin Nakashinobi Yoshikawa is sent to Iwakuen village to sow discord between Iwakuen and Yongakur. Later, the matter was revealed. Konoha immediately declared Rin Yoshikawa a traitor. What he does only represents his personal will, and has nothing to do with Konoha. In order to prevent it from leaking information to enemy countries, the root organization, Heavenly Evil, will be eliminated. This is followed by a detailed course of action. In a nutshell, is a spy who was sent by the Konoha high level to carry out a mission, and after the mission failed, he was directly regarded as an outcast by the Konoha high level. Not only to carry the pot, but also to be removed. It does sound disgusting, but it's actually, in the ninja world, it's quite common. That's how all the villages play. Beings like Senju Katsuma and Madara Uchiha are simply indifferent to this kind of thing. Even the little son, Wave Feng Shui Gate does not feel new. When he was the Hokage, he definitely wouldn't do that. However, that didn't mean he didn't know that Konoha had such a thing. However, when everyone feels that it doesn't matter, there is one person who can't take it anymore. Ding. A strong anger emotion is generated between the Thousand Hand Pillars. Reward, Mu Dun, Woodman technique. The Thousand Hands Pillar shouted, why? Why take the initiative to provoke wars in other villages? These juniors have no idea how hard One Piece is. However, this time, the words of the pillar are destined to be unrecognized. Madara Uchiha sneered, peace. Ha 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 ha, that's the biggest joke I've ever heard. Hassie, why are you always so naive? Even the Thousand Hands opened their mouths and said, big brother, stop having such illusions. Quote, when you were alive, the ninja world was indeed peaceful. Quote, but that's only because of the strength of you, the god of ninjas. The so-called peace is only for the duration of your life. Quote, in fact, the year after you died, there was another great war in the ninja world. Quote, otherwise, how could I die? The battle between ninja and ninja, ninja village and ninja village, will never stop. Quote, in order to maintain the stability of your own village, it is normal to plant spies in other ninja villages and try to provoke wars between other villages. There's no way around it. What are you talking about? Senjutsuma's eyes widened suddenly. Some looked at their brother in disbelief. However, there was no evasion between the Thousand Hands. Just looked directly at his eldest brother so calmly. Half a day, Shinshozuma continued. But even so, if it was an order from above, why should you treat that companion as an outcast afterwards? Isn't it true that the village should protect every companion? Shinsho shook his head and said slowly, big brother, that's not the same thing. Quote, spies, there are rules for spies. Quote, Once your identity is revealed, you can only die. Quote. From the moment that ninja chooses to become a spy, he should have the consciousness of sacrifice at any time. Quote. This is a dedication to the village as a Konoha ninja. Quote. It's also time for them to carry out the will of fire. This is a strong word, said through gritted teeth among the thousand hands pillars. Obviously, he absolutely cannot agree with this explanation. The Uchiha Ryu also spoke at the right time, tisk. Quote. This is worthy of a despicable thousand-armed old ghost, and it is a set of sophistry. Quote. Well, if that's what you say. Quote. If one day, Konoha and other villages go to war and fall into a disadvantage. Quote. At this time, the other party asked for a Konoha ninja by name. Quote. As long as Konoha takes the initiative to send people over, the other party can stop fighting and negotiate peace, and Konoha can recuperate. Quote. At this time, according to the theory of the second Hokage-sama. Quote. For the peace of the village. Quote. Shouldn't that Konoha ninja also be allowed to take the initiative to dedicate? If he doesn't want to. Quote. Then give him a big hat of no will of fire. Quote. Then the top management of Konoha forcibly helped him dedicate. Quote. Tut tut, second generation Hokage-sama, this abacus is really crackling. Your fart. 1,000 hands burst into rage. Evil Uchiha imp. Don't fan the flames here. Is espionage the same thing as war? If there is any high-ranking Konoha who dares to lose the war, he will take the initiative to hand over his comrades in the village as a condition for peace. The old man would rather you be reincarnated in the dirty earth and desecrate the old man's soul. Also go back to this world and slap the who made this decision to death. If there is any high-ranking Konoha who dares to lose the war, he will take the initiative to hand over his comrades in the village as a condition for peace. The old man would rather you be reincarnated in the dirty earth and desecrate the old man's soul. Also go back to this world and slap the who made this decision to death. The words of 1,000 hands can be described as loud. And that's exactly what happened. Even the Uchiha stream has to admit it. Although this guy is good at playing tricks. But in fact, it's also a generation of iron-blooded Hokage. Not only is it tough on the Uchiha clan in the village. I've never been cowardly to the outside world. It's a pity. His successors have only learned his internal intrigues. I only know that there is a in the nest. Thinking of this, the corners of Uchiha Ryu's mouth rose slightly. Really, the second Hokage-sama. Quote. You must remember what you said today. Quote. Lest I call you to the future, you will not confess. Quote. What do you mean, little ghost? A sense of foreboding suddenly rose in my heart. Could it be? This has happened to Konoha before. Not before. The Uchiha shrugged. That's not the end of it. 1,000 hands breathed a sigh of relief. He said in a deep voice. Monkeys, Tuan hide them, of course, they have their problems. Quote. Even, in some ways, they have a big problem. Quote. But, as a disciple of the old man. Quote. They will never do such a thing as betraying their fellow villagers to sue for peace. The old man is convinced of this. Really, the Uchiha sneered. Perhaps, it won't be long before you are so sure. Quote. He knew. It won't take long. Yun Shinobi's peace mission is coming to Konoha. At that time, the high-level Konoha leaders handed over the Hinata in order to make compromises. Tisk. The Uchiha really can't wait to see what kind of expression the 1,000 hands will have at that time. But, it is imperative to continue to look at the file at the root. Looking at the sheer number, the Uchiha pondered. If you read it all, you won't see next year. Moreover, it is not necessary at all. It is impossible for every file to burst out with rewards. It's okay to look at the key points. For example, looking at the Hagi Sakushige in the system space, Uchiha Ryu suddenly thought of something. The corners of the mouth are slightly raised. Resolutely rummaged through. Sure enough, according to the approximate year of Konoha White Fang's death. Soon he found a sealed dossier. Because of the age, there is even a layer of dust on it. The Uchiha Ryu casually released a small wind escape, blowing the dust away. On the cover, there are 4 big characters written, Kimu Shuamao. System space. Hachiki Sakushige's eyes widened sharply. Puzzled. Roots. How can there be my dossier? He's never joined the Roots, and he's never done anything for them. Even the final death was suicidal, not purged by the Roots. No matter what he thought, he didn't think of what he could have to do with the Roots. The others, the Thousand Hands brothers and the Uchiha brothers, didn't react much. When Kimushuo Meoming shook the ninja world, they had already hung up. Except for Spots. That is, after these 2 days of getting along in the system space, occasionally chatting. Only then did they know a little bit about the story of this junior. Thousand Hands even have a little impression of this white-haired imp. I was very happy to hear that he had made a great name later. Later, after hearing that he couldn't think about it and committed suicide, he felt quite a pity. But that's all the details, they don't know. They didn't think there was much of a problem with the name of Tsukumo Kimu appearing at the root. Only Bo Fengshauman, who had a vague understanding of the inside story of the year, frowned. Is it? With the Uchiha stream open the dossier. The answer is about to be revealed. The opening chapter is large. A detailed record of the glorious resume of Sakushi Hagi. Rising to prominence, fame, and, in the Megatron ninja world. Up to 100% mission success rate, all kinds of tricks with one enemy and many counter kills. An existence that terrifies ninjas in enemy countries. The sharpest short knife in the hearts of the people of Konoha, Konoha White Fang. Ha! 1,000 Hands looked at it with joy. Patted Kimu Shuamao's shoulder, very capable little ghost. But he soon couldn't laugh anymore. Because, on top of the dossier, finish recording a glamorous resume. This was followed by a comment from Shimura Danzo. The leaves are white, the flags are thick, the edges are exposed, and the influence of the people is great. Is the strongest contender for the next Hokage. The inheritance of the Hokage's historical master and apprentice has been substantially damaged. It must be suppressed. Ding. 1,000 Hands generate a strong anger, emotion, reward, total chakra *2. The 1,000 Hands pillar frowned. Look, this is the good disciple you taught. The position of the Hokage has always been inhabited by the virtuous and capable. When did it become an inherent inheritance? What's more, what is he Shimura Danzo? Who is qualified to consider who will be the Hokage, and what qualifications are there to suppress the heroes of Konoha? This. A cold sweat came down between the hands of 1,000 Hands. Faced with his eldest brother's questioning, he could only reluctantly explain. Maybe the group is just thinking that the fixed inheritance will make Konoha more stable. Quote. What nonsense. The 1,000 Hands pillar did not accept such a statement at all. The Uchiha Ryu said at the right time, first Hokage-sama, don't be in a hurry to get angry. Quote. Well, let's move on. Quote. The reels continue to unfold. Konoha calendar 45 years. Tsukumo Hagi led the team to Yunnan village to carry out a top-secret mission. At the last moment, Sakushi Hagi abandons the mission he is about to succeed in order to protect his companion, Nakashinobu Tasuki Yuta. It will cause certain losses to the village. After returning to Konoha, the 3 generations of Hokage did not blame too much on the surface. The vast majority of ninjas in the village also expressed understanding. Kimu Shuamao thought about it behind closed doors. Shimura was very unhappy with this punishment. Send members of the Roots, disguised as ordinary ninjas, to spread rumors in Konoha village. Because of the strength of this mission, the village has suffered a great loss. Sakushi Kimu has an unshirkable responsibility. 3 days later, he sent a member of the Root, Yamanaka Stroke, to infiltrate the home of the rescued Nakayama, Kota Tsuki. With the secret technique of the Yamanaka clan, he controlled Kota Tsuki to write a suicide note and commit suicide. The next day, Kota Tsuki's body was found, and the contents of the suicide note were exposed. Approximate content. Kota Tsuki, fell into the hands of the enemy, causing the village to suffer losses and dare not survive in the world. However, the mission failed, and the team leader, Kimu Shuamao, abandoned the mission in order to save my life. There is no ethics of being a professional ninja at all. For such a life-saving benefactor, I hate it deeply. In just 2 days, all kinds of news spread like a tide in the village. On the 3rd day, Kimu Shuamao, who could no longer bear the pressure, cut himself at home. On the 3rd day, Kimu Shuamao, who could no longer bear the pressure, cut himself at home. At this point, the contents of the dossier are complete. In the system space, the pin drop can be heard. It's suffocating. Immediately after that, the rewards exploded. Ding. Himu Shuamao has a strong, stunned, emotion, reward, White Fang knife technique. Ding. Bo Feng Shui Gate produces a strong, tired, emotion, reward, sealing technique, Bagua seal. Ding. Uchiha Izuna has a strong, speechless, emotion, reward, fire escape, dust hidden technique. Ding. Uchiha Madara has a strong, interested, emotion, reward, Uchiha rebound. Ding. Thousands of hands have a strong, unbelievable, emotion, reward, water escape, water waves. Ding. A strong, anger, emotion is generated between the thousand hands pillar, reward, psychic Rashomon. An event. At the same time, all the undead in the system space will be touched. This is the first time in history. The corners of Uchiha Ryu's mouth were almost grinning at the base of his ears. System space. Himu Shuamao's face was full of astonishment. He didn't expect it at all. The original truth. It turned out to be like this. The rumors in the village were deliberately led by someone. The companion who was saved by himself did not commit suicide, but committed suicide. In the second half of his life, he was directed like a script. Little son, Bo Feng Shui buried his head in his arm. I feel extremely tired. In fact, since he succeeded to the throne Hokage. In less than 2 years, I have seen too many unexpected gloom villages. But he never thought of. It can be so dark. Izuna Uchiha shook her head helplessly. He died in the Warring States period, but he originally looked at the current Konoha village and thought it was not bad. But now, he suddenly felt. The establishment of the village seems to have brought many families together and maintained peace. However, the open guns and hidden arrows behind the scenes are even more outrageous than the disputes in the Warring States period. Anyway, those fights are on the surface. Somehow, don't worry about your fellow clansmen and do it to yourself. This village is. It's better to have than nothing. The corners of Madara Uchiha's mouth turned into a strange smile. He suddenly felt. The little cub named Shimura Danzo seems to be quite gifted. This conspiracy is really a bit sick. It's a pity that I didn't notice this guy in the first place. Otherwise, absorb him into your side. I'm afraid that the success rate of the Eye of the Moon project will increase a lot. Senju's eyes widened suddenly. In the scarlet eyes, there was a thick disbelief. Shimura Danzo, what did he do? You're playing such a trick, isn't it good to deal with the enemy? Why do you want to do it to your fellow villagers? Myself, how the hell did you teach such a disciple? The face of the Thousand Hands pillar turned red. His face twitched slightly. There were tears in his eyes. He hadn't been so angry since he was born. It's really because of Tuanzang's operation, which has exceeded the limit of his imagination. Before today, the Thousand Hands pillar with a pure nature was completely unimaginable. In this world, there are people who can be vicious to such an extent. This kind of means is simply outrageous. What's even more difficult for him to accept is, such a fool's is actually in the Konoha village that he established. Still in a high position. Suddenly, a Thousand Hands slammed into the ground with a punch. Gritted his teeth and growled. Unforgivable. Because the companions of the village are too outstanding, they will be framed and suppressed. Forcing life to death, even, in order to complete this plan. One more fellow villager. Creating public opinion. Forging suicide notes, killing fellow. Why do you do this? Why do you want to do it to your companions? The village that the old man painstakingly built is the bright Konoha and the big family that his companions believe in loving each other. Why do such filthy fools as Shimura Danzo exist? A hero who is like a pillar of the village, a character who has made great contributions to Konoha. He died under the conspiracy of his own people. Shimura Danzo, is he a ninja of the village, or an undercover agent of the enemy? Ding. A strong, anger, emotion is generated between the Thousand Hands pillar, reward, psychic fivefold Rashomon. There was a deep voice of boundless anger between the Thousand Hands pillar, echoing in the system space. His eyes were blood red, and his majestic body was trembling. Looking at his eldest brother's frenzied appearance, a deep sense of distress and guilt flashed in his eyes. Big brother, It's me who didn't teach my disciples well, it's because I have no eyes and I chose the wrong person. Thankfully, the Hokage is a monkey, not a Danzo. Quote. Ha. The Uchiha suddenly sneered. Second Hokage-sama, you're a little self-deceived, aren't you? So far. Quote. Do you really believe that your other disciple, Ape Flying Sun Slash, is Binching Yuji? Senju's face twitched. Obviously a little weak-hearted. I didn't wait for him to speak. Uchiha Ryu continued. Do you really think that Tuanzang did all these things, he didn't know anything about it? Or maybe you might as well put it more thoroughly. Quote. If he really doesn't know these things, he is completely blinded by the group. Quote. Then he's stupid. If he knew about these things, but acquiesced to Danzang doing it. Quote. Then he's bad. In short, we, Hokage-sama, are either stupid or bad. Which do you wish it to be? Ding. 1,000 hands have a strong grievance, emotion, reward, spell detonation. 1,000 hands were cannoned by the Uchiha stream. It made it, red warm, on the spot. However, the Uchiha stream still did not stop. Output. Stupid 1,000-armed old ghost. Look at your chosen successor. Quote. What kind of goods are 1 or 2? Konoha under the leadership of these people, do you think there will be good results? Konoha has come to this point, and you have an unshakable direct responsibility between your 1,000 hands. Is it wrong that I want to change a village like this? Ding. Thousands of hands produce strong resentment, emotions, reward, flying thunder, God guiding thunder, one time. Uchiha Ryu questioned one by one. Like a heavy hammer, it struck heavily on the heart between the thousands of hands. His face turned red. He clearly wanted to say something. I want to fight back against this Uchiha evil imp who doesn't know the height of the sky. However, in the face of these ironclad evidence, I don't know how to refute it at all. Even, he has begun to ask himself. Maybe this Uchiha imp is right. Old man, is it really wrong? Alas. Listening to the conversation between the two, the 1,000 hands pillar sat on the ground and covered his face with his hands. Looks rather negative. This moment, in his heart, there seemed to be something that collapsed. Looking at the painful appearance of the 1,000 hands pillar, the corners of the mouth of the good friend, Madara Uchiha rose slightly. That's great. Excellent. Intercolumnar. Looks like you get a little bit of the idea. You are naive, and you finally see a part of the darkness of this world. What village, companions, peace, you were passionate about? Question mark. It's all ridiculously ridiculous. The only one who can really save the ninja world is me, Madara Uchiha. Only unlimited months to read. Thinking of this, Madara Uchiha's eyes suddenly narrowed. Dark passage. I don't know what happened to Obito and Nagato. The plan went smoothly. It's not cool to feel like you're pinning your hopes on someone else. In the past, after death, there was no consciousness, so there were no thoughts. Now I don't know what forbidden art is. Sealed in this space, consciousness. I really feel like I'm worried about my great plan all the time. When the Uchiha Ryu was immersed in flipping through the dossier and reaping the rewards. Madara Uchiha is worried about his Moonai project. The main reason is that he is not very worried about the executor of the plan he has chosen, Uchiha Obito. And at this time, the Uchiha Obito. I'm in a certain base of the Shao organization. Listen to the information of the Absolute. Heiju said, there is a white doppelganger, in the territory of the country of waves, the traces of one of the 3 ninjas, Tsunade Heim. Quote. Nagato's physical condition is worrying, do you want to bring Tsunade here and treat him? Lest he have problems behind him and delay our plans. Quote. Uchiha Obito tilted his head and groaned for a moment. Finally shook his head, forget it. Quote. Nagato's body is obviously overdrawn by the reincarnation eye. Quote. Although Tsunade is the strongest medical ninja, I'm afraid I can't solve it. Quote. Moreover, it is easy to expose Shao in advance. Quote. Not to mention, Uchiha Obito sneered, that guy from Nagato, there is that woman Xiaonan on the side, and we are not of the same mind. Quote. I've always been wary of me, the Madara Uchiha. Quote. It's good to have him crippled. Quote. If he really has a good body, coupled with the eye of the immortal, I'm afraid that he will get out of our control. Quote. Makes sense. Kuroye nodded submissively. In my heart, I was very unimpressed. Dark passage. Obito is an idiot, what a waste. Obviously has mastered the magic of Shinwei, but he can't even control the long door, and he has to play the game of checks and balances. If it weren't for the reincarnation of Indra in the previous generation, Madara Uchiha, it would have been too late to open the eye of reincarnation. I'm afraid that my mother would have been resurrected a long time ago. Why bother so hard? But it can't be helped, right now. I can only hope for Obito. As long as Madara Uchiha is successfully resurrected, everything will be easy. Suddenly, Ju's brain seemed to be down, and he froze in place for a few seconds. The Uchiha Obito was no surprise to this. This is absolutely passing on a message to your own spore clone. Soon, there was a touch of joy on his face. Ju shouted excitedly. Hey, Obito, guess what big news my doppelganger sent back from Konoha just now? I promise, you'll be very interested. HMPH. Uchiha Obito snorted coldly. The eyes exposed outside the mask squinted at Ju. What big news can Konoha have? I'm interested. Could it be Kaka? Phew. Obito was a little annoyed that he was the first to think of a certain white-haired fool. Immediately denied. I'm not interested in that idiot. Could it be the Nine Tails? No, 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 Ju waved his hand. Not the Nine Tails. Quote, Konoha, a new amazing imp has appeared in the past 2 days. I'm still of the same race as you. Little ghost. Uchiha Obito's eyes narrowed slightly. The Uchiha clan. Could it be that the kaleidoscope writing wheel eye is opened? That's not it. Ju shook his head. Uchiha Obito's brows furrowed, and he said with some dissatisfaction. What's the big deal about that? But he woke up. Ju dragged out his voice and sold it a little. Mew done. Nani? Uchiha Obito was stunned for a moment. An Uchiha, awakened Mew done. Are you sure you're not mistaken? It's true. Ju said confidently. This, Obito muttered for a moment, and suddenly thought. I see. Quote, he's probably Orochimaru's test subject. Quote, the half-hung wooden escape is useless. Quote, no, 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 Ju waved his hand. That little ghost is the son-in-law of the current Uchiha patriarch. Quote, it's never a test subject. Quote, he just suddenly woke up Mew done by himself. Quote, is this science? Ju took over the conversation and said. Regardless of whether the department is scientific or not, I think it is necessary to absorb that little imp into the organization. Quote, in the future, maybe we will be able to awaken the writing wheel eye and Mew done twin blood inheritance limit. Quote, it's very useful for us to catch tailed beasts behind us. Also, if Nagato's body dies in the future, quote, that kid may be able to be used as a new carrier of the reincarnation eye. In this way, our plan is equivalent to having multiple insurances. When he said this, there was a fanaticism in the tone of the Black Absolute that could not be concealed. The sudden rise of the Uchiha stream, in the opinion of Kuroju. It's a great opportunity. Under his bewitchment, Uchiha Obito was obviously moved. That's it. Absorb him into the organization, and I'll personally go to Konoha to recruit him. I'm afraid it's not easy. Ju said with some concern. After all, that kid is the son-in-law of the Uchiha patriarch, and it still seems that he is still very much respected by the 3 generations of Hokage. Quote, I want him to be a traitor, but I'm afraid it's a little difficult. Quote, HMPH. Uchiha Obito sneered. Uchiha. The contradiction between the Uchiha and the Konoha leaders has long been irreconcilable, and sooner or later it will break out in full force. Quote, maybe 3 generations of old men will let him be a double agent and spy on the Uchiha clan. That little ghost's life will not be easy. Quote, that's right. Ju suddenly laughed. Not without irony. What's interesting, though, is that little imp is as innocent as you were back then, and a staunch inheritor of the will to fire. Quote, I'm clamoring to be the Hokage every day. Uchiha Obito seemed to be stirred up a lot of bad memories by these words. A cold smile broke into the corner of his mouth. The smile is full of mockery and disdain. Hokage. Meaningless stuff. Only a fool would want to be a Hokage. This is Obito venting his dissatisfaction with his teacher. It's also a denial of myself who was aiming for the Hokage at the beginning. Uchiha Obito. It's not the same as it used to be. The corners of Heiju's mouth twitched slightly. This is a ruthless man. When you get angry, you even scold yourself. Uchiha Obito got up from his chair. Said coldly, "Soon, I'll make that kid realize this bloody reality. Let's go to Konoha." As he spoke, his body twisted and disappeared in place. Baiju grinned, "Ah." Heiju said coldly, "Keep up. The speed of 2 old silver coins is fast. At 10 o'clock in the evening, I arrived at Konoha. Moreover, a temporal technique, a mayfly technique, it is not too easy to sneak in. Konoha's guardian enchantment, in front of the two of them, is completely useless." At this time, the Uchiha stream body, after completing the day's dark mission, was walking home. In a hidden attic, Uchiha Obito's eyes narrowed slightly. "Is that the kid?" "That's right." Baiju's voice looked very excited. "Do it now." "That's right." Baiju's voice looked very excited. "Do it now." Uchiha Obito's gaze flickered for a moment, and he slowly spoke. "There's no hurry. Quote, it's still early, and it's a bit too ostentatious to do it now. Quote, besides, I'll have to keep an eye on this little ghost. Quote, let's see if he's really qualified to be recruited by me. Quote, the Akatsuki organization doesn't need waste wood." Heiju chuckled and nodded, "That's fine. Quote, it just so happened that the spore clone over there just came with the news. Quote, this guy's younger brother, that little imp named Uchiha Itachi. Quote, it seems that there is a conflict with the people. Quote, when Uchiha Obito heard this, the corners of his mouth rose slightly, and he said mockingly, "Oh, quote, looks like we're going to have a good show." Quote, his gaze was fixed on the back of the Uchiha Ryu. "Let me see what kind of being you are." Quote, in the small square of the Uchiha clan. The Uchiha Itachi, wearing a Konoha forehead guard, is putting on a battle posture and confronting 2 older clansmen. Uchiha Itachi's little face is full of anger. He just received his forehead guard today and officially became a Konoha shinobi. Originally, he was happily ready to go home to share this glory with his parents and brothers. However, when passing through the small square, Uchiha Itachi suddenly heard. The 2 clansmen in front of him were actually criticizing his most respected brother. The rhetoric is quite rude. He stepped forward to argue with reason, but was ridiculed by the other party. Immediately the conflict intensified. Uchiha Inyo narrowed his long narrow eyes and sneered. "Little ghost, how dare you stand up for that fool who turned his back on the glory of a clan? Looks like your mind is dangerous. Since I can't find the Uchiha for the time being, let's teach his own brother a lesson first." As he spoke, his figure flickered, and he quickly approached Uchiha Itachi's side. In an attic not far from the small square, there were also 2 Uchiha people, an old man and a young man, standing, watching the conflict from afar. The older Uchiha frowned and spoke. Although that Uchiha stream is very unusual. Quote, however, the rice fire did it to a little ghost who was just 7 years old, and he was still the son of the patriarch, which was also too much. Stop the water, won't you stop them? Beside him, a dignified-looking young man smiled. It is the Uchiha Shisui who has the name of Instantaneous. Because of his super talent and strong strength, he is also known as the first master of Uchiha. At this time, Shisui smiled confidently. Quote, I'm sure they'll be measured. Quote, I just want to see how good this kid is now. Quote, if it's really bad, I'll stop it. Quote, it's fine. The older Uchiha nodded slightly. On the square, facing the surprise attack of Uchiha Inazui, Uchiha Itachi's pupils shrank suddenly. So fast. Is this the speed of the upper ninja? But soon, he calmed down. Chakra is concentrated to the eye area. The pupils, which were originally pitch black, quickly turned scarlet. 2 Magatama, spinning wildly. The swift and incomparably swift movements of the Uchiha Inahuo seemed to have suddenly slowed down several times in the eyes of the Uchiha Itachi. Exclamation mark. Eventually, Itachi Uchiha does a nice backflip. The footsteps tapped on the fist of the Uchiha Inai. While dodging the attack, he pulled back the distance. Pretty beautiful. The Uchiha Inavia apparently didn't expect it. A little imp who has just graduated from a ninja school can dodge his own blow so easily. Suddenly I was a little stunned. When he saw Itachi's bewitching eyes, I was even more shocked. Double-hooked jade. Writing wheel eyes. No wonder. Quote, but this little devil is only 7 years old. What kind of talent is this? Looking at Uchiha Itachi's eager gaze, Uchiha Inahuo's heart was full of anger. What kind of eyes do you have? I really think that if I open the double-hook jade writing wheel, I can't help you. When the words fell, he also suddenly opened his writing wheel. It's a 3-hook jade. At the same time, rushed to the Uchiha Itachi again. It's a problem this time. Quote, a cold sweat ran across Uchiha Itachi's cheeks. If Shangnin is really serious, with his current strength, it is not enough to see. Just at the last moment, a figure suddenly appeared like a ghost. A heavy kick and a precise kick on the shoulder of Uchiha Inai. Kicked it out directly. What person? The Uchiha Iron Fire, who was sweeping on the side, was startled and asked loudly. Ding. Uchiha Iron Fire produces strong shock, emotions, reward, writing wheel eye dynamic vision *2. 2 leaves fall in the air. The figure of the Uchiha Ryu is revealed. Nissan was rescued at a critical moment, and when I looked closely, it turned out to be the big brother I admired the most. Itachi Uchiha looked very happy. The Uchiha Ryu smiled softly and gently stroked Itachi's little head. 1,007, are you alright? Itachi Uchiha shook his head. I'm fine, Nissan. System space. Was tortured by the root file for a whole day between the 1,000 hands. The whole human brain is dizzy. But at this time, watching the Uchiha people fighting among themselves. This Uchiha fighter immediately came to the spirit. Sneered and mocked. Tut tut. The 2 upper ninjas actually shot at a 7-year-old ghost. Quote, is this the glory of the Uchiha? What a united and friendly people. This moment, there seems to be a little joy in the heart of the 1,000 hands. Although the old man's Konoha is now a mess. But it looks like you Uchiha aren't doing that well. Even the door himself admits this thought. It's a bit shameless. But that's exactly what he thinks. It's really hard to be hit today. Cut. Madara Uchiha pursed his lips disdainfully, unconcerned. The Uchiha clan is a god horse, he doesn't care about it for a long time. You know, back then, he, the patriarch, was betrayed by all the Uchiha clans. Izuna Uchiha frowned, and her face was not very good looking. He has always taken the clan very seriously. Therefore, he is very dissatisfied with this kind of bullying of the clansmen. It's okay. The Uchiha nodded. Oh, leave the rest to Nissan. Quote. As he spoke, the smile on his face slowly retracted. The cold gaze was cast on the other side. There, the kicked Uchiha Inami had already risen from the ground. The sharp pain in his shoulder made his face extremely ugly. Look at the dark costume worn by the Uchiha Ryu, and it's even more angry. Ding. Uchiha Rice Fire generates strong anger, emotions, reward, fire escape, how fireball technique. Immediately shouted angrily. Uchiha Stream. You fool who turned your back on the glory of a clan, and finally showed up. It's a sneak attack. Chapter 31. Uchiha Stream. You who turned your back on the glory of a clan, and finally showed up. It's a sneak attack. Facing Uchiha Inahuo's questioning. The Uchiha Ryu's eyes were as cold as a knife. The voice was also extremely cold. 2 shinobi shot at a 7-year-old child. Quote, you can even do such a thing, and do you still have the face to say that others do it? I'm just. Uchiha Inaho gritted his teeth and tried to argue. Was ruthlessly interrupted by the Uchiha Stream. I don't want to talk nonsense with you. Quote, you two, get down on your knees and apologize to my brother, and get out. Don't think it's outrageous. It's common for the Hokage to kneel down to apologize, and in the original book, Uchiha Itachi was forced to kneel down and apologize to his clansmen. Closing parenthesis. I don't embarrass you. Quote, Nani. Uchiha Inaho laughed angrily. Imp, do you know what you're talking about? Do you really think that if you are in the Hokage, you can do whatever you want to your clan? The glory of a clan will not allow you to trample on it like this. The Uchiha Ryu looked at the Uchiha Rice Fire like a fool. He's a high-ranking Konoha who hates decay. However, for this kind of fanatical Uchiha people who obviously have no strength and still shout for the glory of the clan every day, they also don't have any good feelings. Uchiha Ryu's eyes were indifferent. I don't want to talk nonsense at all. 3, 2, That's so arrogant. Uchiha Inahuo was furious. I'm here to teach you a lesson, you little devil who doesn't know the height of the sky. Let you know what the glory of the Uchiha is. The words fell, and the body had disappeared in place. A punching bag big fist that hit Uchiha Ryu in the face mercilessly. Because the fist speed is too fast, it even brings the sound of whirring wind. Although he was just kicked by Uchiha Stream, Uchiha Inahuo thought it was his own carelessness, so he was attacked by Uchiha Stream. If it's really an upright competition, how can this newly graduated little ghost be the opponent of his old ninja? So, he resolutely rushed forward again. But he clearly miscalculated. In the face of Uchiha Inahuo's fist, Uchiha Ryu did not dodge or dodge. Stretch out your palm directly and take it hard. At the moment when the fists and palms touched, there was a sudden force. An irresistible force directly knocked the Uchiha Rice Fire to the ground. Ding! Uchiha Rice Fire produces strong shock, emotions, reward, fire escape, dragon fire technique. How is that possible? Almost a Uchiha Rice Fire that was overturned in front of him, a storm was set off in his heart. How can a 12-year-old imp get so much strength? Moreover, the angle of the opponent's shot is tricky, and the moves are so ruthless, it is not at all like a student who has just graduated. Of course he didn't know. The physical fitness of the Uchiha Ryu is inherited from the immortal physique of the Thousand Hands Pillar. The physical moves are inherited from the strongest Uchiha fighter, Thousand Hands Kakuma. Almost all of this guy's moves are studied to restrain the Uchiha. So, the Uchiha Stream who scavenged many rewards from the Thousand Hands Gate. It can be said that today's ninja world is the most capable of dealing with the existence of Uchiha. It's not surprising to be able to defeat the enemy with one move. Really, in the system space, the expression between the Thousand Hands instantly became strange. Although the Uchiha Ryu only made one move. But how vicious is his vision? All of a sudden, I saw a little bit of my own shadow in it. First the water escape technique, then the knife technique, and now even the body technique is. This evil imp of the Uchiha family must have studied the old man specially. Ding! Thousands of hands have a strong shock, emotion, reward, simplify the seal. Seeing that the Uchiha Inaho was about to struggle to get up, the Uchiha Ryu did not hesitate at all and directly stepped on his face. Sneered condescendingly, "Is this what you call the glory of a people?" As he spoke, he also crushed his opponent's face very unceremoniously. Ding! Uchiha Rice Fire produces strong humiliation, emotions, reward, Uchiha Knife Technique, Uchiha Rice Fire version. Uchiha Inahuo's face was distorted, and he looked very hideous. Compared to the pain on his face, the pain in his heart is obviously worse. For him, Uchiha Ryu is stepping on his face. It's clearly stepping on the face of the entire Uchiha clan. Rubbish! Uchiha Ryu sneered. Kick it up and kick it out again. Rice Fire! The Uchiha Iron Fire exclaimed in surprise and hurriedly walked over to check on the injury. The Uchiha Inahuo covered his wounds and roared with resentment on his face. Leave me alone. Do it. Use ninjutsu. Good. Uchiha Iron Fire gritted his teeth. His hands quickly sealed. Fire escape. How fireball technique. A large blazing fireball rushed towards us. The Uchiha sneered and immediately released the same technique. Fire escape. How fireball technique. Boom. An extremely exaggerated fireball erupted from his mouth. The high temperature swept and directly dyed most of the square orange. Anyone can see it. The fireball released by the Uchiha Stream, both in size and scorching heat, is obviously much more powerful than the opponent. Sure enough, two identical moves collided. The Uchiha Stream's fireball shattered the opponent, like a devastating one. And then, there's even more to spare. Orange-red flames continued to sweep towards the enemy. Not good. The Uchiha was shocked. Hurriedly dragged up the scarred Uchiha Inafio and dodged to the side. Rao was already quite quick to react, but his clothes were still burned and tattered. Extremely embarrassed, in the middle of the night, the flames completely dissipated. The floor of the bluestone paved square was burned with a terrible scorch mark. It can be seen that the fireball of Uchiha Flows How is so powerful. System space. 1,000 hands, eyes widened suddenly. Not. Isn't this evil Uchiha imp good at the water escape technique? How can Huo Dan have such attainments? As an expert in ninjutsu. Of course, it is clear between the 1,000 hands. The same technique, the competition is who instantly condenses the largest amount of chakra, and who has a deeper cultivation of attribute changes. And Uchiha Ryu's fireball can defeat that Naho shinobi. This shows that his comprehension of the fire escape technique completely crushed the other party. Izuna Uchiha looked very pleased. That's right. The Uchiha is already famous in the ninja world for his riding wheels, shuriken, and fire escape. It's really an eyesore to let an Uchiha escape with water every day. Ding. Uchiha Obito has a strong, shocked, emotion, reward, earth escape, earth dragon hidden technique. In the dark, Uchiha Obito's pupils shrank slightly. Secretly said, "This little ghost's talent and strength. It's much better than when I was 12 years old." Quote. I just don't know how. Level of his mu done. Received this system prompt. Uchiha Ryu's brow furrowed slightly. Uchiha Obito, this guy, is he actually in Konoha now? He had thought before that he would definitely be noticed by the Shao organization. But I didn't expect that the efficiency of the other party was so high. Though, that's fine. Find a way to unmask this guy, things must be quite interesting, right? Until that time, what will happen to Kakashi? What will happen to the Bo Feng Shui Gate? What's more, what about Madara Uchiha? What will happen to Kakashi? What will happen to the Bo Feng Shui Gate? What's more, what about Madara Uchiha? Thinking of this, the corners of Uchiha Ryu's mouth turned into a playful smile. However, this smile of his, for the sake of Uchiha Anahuo and Uchiha Iron Fire, it's a mockery. Although it was quite shocked by the combat power of the Uchiha stream. Uchiha Anahuo still gritted his teeth and roared, "Uchiha stream. Since you have completely left the glory of the clan behind, you have chosen to be the lackey of the Konoha high level. Why do you still use the Uchiha clan's technique? If you have the ability, use other moves, let's fight again." Good Kyoki angle. Uchiha Ryu almost laughed angrily. It doesn't matter, though. Quote, that's what you want. Quote, let me show you what you've never seen before. Don't be ashamed. Uchiha Anahuo didn't believe at all. The Uchiha clan has been inherited for many years, and they have such a magical blood inheritance limit as the Sharingan. It can be said that as long as it is a clansman who has opened his eyes, almost all of them are copy ninjas. Copy wherever you go. In terms of the abundance of reserves in ninjutsu, the Uchiha clan is absolutely the best in the entire ninja world. Uchiha Anahuo is a veteran shinobi again, and he is well informed. I don't believe that the Uchiha can perform any moves that he has never seen before. But the next moment, he was completely stunned. I saw Uchiha Ryu clasp his hands together violently. Would escape, tree realm descends. Accompanied by his majestic voice. A massive amount of chakra, as a source of life, is frantically injected into the ground. Boom! In the horrified eyes of everyone, the bluestone ground under their feet suddenly exploded. Thick trees, rushing out of the ground. Then, at a speed visible to the naked eye, it grows wildly. The branches, like dragons, dance wildly in the air. Then, pounce on the other side. How could he, the legendary Mudun? The Uchiha Iron Fire was shocked. Uchiha Anaho's face was also quite ugly. He said in a deep voice, "Stop talking nonsense. Hurry up and find a way to deal with these trees." The range of the tree realm is extremely wide, and the speed is also very fast. If you want to dodge, it's simply impossible. The two of them can only attack hard, trying to stop the trees from attacking them. But their two swords slashed at the tree. I can only cut out a little scar, and I can't cut it off at all. The fire escape technique is even more scraping. Only a small part of the trunk can be burned black. But soon, the chakra surged, and the trees immediately returned to their original state. With even more terrifying might, surging in. In just a few breaths, the terrain was directly changed. Transform a small bare square into a sea of trees out of thin air. And those two Uchiha unlucky ghosts. There is simply no way to resist such a powerful move. After a few collisions, even the Teidao was blasted out of his hand. Then, the trees that were swept directly were tied up in a sturdy knot. Hung in midair. Ding. Himu Shuamao has a strong, shock, emotion, reward, thunder escape, pseudo-dark. Ding. Wave Feng Shui Gate produces a strong shock, emotion, reward, plus 20% reaction speed. Ding. Thousands of hands generate a strong, unbelievable, emotion, reward, plus 10% power of the water escape technique. Ding. 1000 hands pillar generates a strong, praise, mood, reward, chakra recovery speed *2. Ding. Uchiha Izuna has a strong, praise, emotion, reward, the pupil power of the writing wheel is enhanced. Ding. Uchiha Madara has a strong, jealous, emotion, reward, Uchiha bloodline enhancement. Scoop 1. In the system space, Kimu Shuamao's pupils shrank suddenly. Bo Feng Shuaman was also shocked. Is this the first Hokage-sama, who was once famous in the ninja world? It's so powerful. Although, Bo Feng Shuaman is also in the name of Golden Flash, and it is a powerful ninja world. But, he is very self-aware. Golden Flash, and God of Ninjas, these two names are not of the same magnitude at all. How could it be? Uchiha's strongest fighter, Senju's face changed wildly. This time, he was far more shocked than the wooden clone. After all, the tree realm was born, and this can be called a very advanced wood escape technique. This evil Uchiha imp obviously just awakened the wood escape blood inheritance limit yesterday. How is it possible to perform a wooden escape of this scale today? And, where did he learn this technique? He clearly remembered that Danzo only gave Uchiha Ryu a scroll of wood clone. Could it be, from a mere wood clone, the Uchiha Ryu comprehended the essence of the wood escape technique? I realized the birth of the tree world. Is this possible? Tisk. Thousand Hands Pillar looked amazed. This kid has such a strong understanding, but he is much stronger than the old man back then. The corners of Izuna Uchiha's mouth rose slightly. The more I look at the Uchiha stream, the more pleasing it is to the eye. This junior is really outstanding. Even Mu-dun can master it so quickly, and he will definitely be able to lead the Uchiha clan to glory in the future. Madara Uchiha in the corner, his face was a little gloomy. Uchiha Ryu's talent simply shocked him again and again. Every time I make a move, my strength seems to have a qualitative leap. This will have to be further developed. Obito and Nagato, can they really deal with this little ghost? The Great Eye of the Moon project, can it still be successfully implemented? What the hell is Jahawa Obito doing? Someone in Konoha awakens the Sharingan and Mu-dun at the same time, can't you find such a major news? Hurry up and strangle this scourge in the cradle. What the hell is Jahawa Obito doing? Someone in Konoha awakens the Sharingan and Mu-dun at the same time, can't you find such a major news? Hurry up and strangle this scourge in the cradle. What Madara Uchiha didn't know was, at this time, Uchiha Obito was secretly observing this battle. And the heart is quite shocked. Ding. Uchiha Obito has a strong, shocked, emotion, reward, Mu-dun cuttings technique. This little ghost's wooden escape. It's so strong. In fact, Obito himself will also use wood. But it's just a few small moves, and it can't play the true power of Mu-dun at all. After all, he hadn't seen the ninja god back then. Even, Obito once thought, Mu-dun, it seems like that's what it's all about. It's very mysterious, but it's not as powerful as Uchiha's kaleidoscope writing wheel eye at all. But see you today, it had a powerful impact on his heart. Is this the orthodox Mu-dun with red roots? It's just awakened, it's so powerful, and it's going to be paid back in the future. Thinking of this, Uchiha Obito licked his lips a little greedily. This little ghost, I'm going to decide. Be sure to absorb him into the organization. When Heiju heard this, he was overjoyed. Phew. A sound of breaking the air was heard. The figure of the Uchiha stopping the water appeared on the square in an instant. Looking at the huge sea of trees beside him, the pupils of this Uchiha #1 master shrank suddenly. Ding. Uchiha stops the water to produce a strong, shock, emotion, reward, phantom clone technique. He looked at the Uchiha Ryu with shock in his eyes. This Uchiha Ryu, in addition to the second-generation Hokage's water escape. Quote. You even awakened the original Hokage-sama's Mu-dun. It's amazing. Could it be? In his body, is there really the blood of that clan? And the reason why he is so close to the top of Konoha may also be a trace of the imprint in the blood. Quote. For his appearance, the Uchiha Ryu was not the slightest surprise. He had long sensed that the Uchiha Shisui was nearby. The Uchiha Inahuo, who was hoisted, saw the water stop appearing, as if he saw a life-saving straw. Shouted, "Stop the water! Help us! By the way, teach this little imp who doesn't know the height of the sky." Although the Uchiha Ryus would escape is shocking. However, the Uchiha clan still has great trust in the strength of instantaneous water stopping. Alas, the Uchiha sighed. He didn't choose to act immediately. Instead, he said to Uchiha Ryu gently, "Ryu, your strength is really amazing." Quote. However, now that you have won, they have also learned their lesson. Quote. So, can you let them go? After all, they are shinobi and seniors in the clan, so they have been hanging like this, and the reputation of the Uchiha clan. The Uchiha Ryu glanced at him and interrupted him with a sneer. Uchiha Shisui, you've been here for a long time, haven't you? When these two attacked the ferret, I didn't see you come out to stop it. Quote. When they joined forces to attack me, I didn't see you come forward. Quote. Now, I've won. Quote. You, the #1 Uchiha master, have come out to administer justice. Are you worthy? This is quite unsympathetic. The Uchiha was choked and a little overwhelmed. But he still reluctantly explained. Well, I wanted to see the Itachi. I don't need to explain. The Uchiha interrupted him again. Your face doesn't work for me. Quote. These two people, I'm going to hang them here today. Quote. Let all the Uchiha people in the past see how ridiculous their so-called glory is. For the Uchiha stream, the disobedient Uchiha clan will have to be beaten well. He can lead the Uchiha clan to glory, but only if these people know the times. You can tell who is the big and small king. Hearing this, the Uchiha frowned. Stream. Quote. It's good that you have the whole Konoha in your heart, the will of fire. But, you're acting a little too radical right now. The glory of a clan shall not be defiled. Uchiha Shisui is such a character with extremely complex thoughts. He longed for peace. There is also a burning will of fire in my heart. But at the same time, he was burdened with the expectations of all the Uchiha clansmen, and he couldn't let go of the glory of the next clan in his heart. In the original book, he has been trying to find a way for Konoha and Uchiha to coexist peacefully. Pity. The brain is not very easy to make. In the end, it can only end up miserable. Seeing that the Uchiha Ryu was unmoved, the Uchiha stopped the water and said in a deep voice. If you insist on not letting people go, then forgive me for offending. Quote. Ha, Uchiha Ryu sneered. Come on, then. Quote. Let me see, what means do you, who are known as the #1 Uchiha master, have? Offended. Uchiha's eyes closed slightly. When I opened it again, I had already opened the 3-hook jade writing wheel eye. His hands slammed into the seal. Phantom clone technique. With a light drink, the Uchiha Shisui writing wheel eyes shone brightly. The next moment, from his body, more than a dozen doppelgangers were separated. Immediately after, the clones all put on an attack stance. This is the unique technique of Uchiha to stop water. A phantom clone created with the Sharingan. It's not an entity, but it can instantly attack like an entity. Blazing fast. This is where the name, instantaneous water stopping, comes from. Now, the Uchiha uses this move to stop the water. It can be seen how jealous he is of Uchiha stream. Bells and whistles. The Uchiha sneered. He'd already swiped this reward before. He knew better than anyone else the characteristics of this technique. It's a very difficult move. If you encounter it suddenly, it will inevitably be a little rushed. However, now the situation is completely different. The previously released Tree Realm Descent is still there. This is his home field of fighting. I saw Uchiha Ryu's palms clasped together violently. With the infusion of chakra, the trunk of the tree, which had been stagnant, grew savagely again. There is no need to aim at all, and it is directly overwhelmingly rolled towards the dozen or so Uchiha stopping water. Puff puff. Although the phantom clone is tougher than the normal shadow clone, it is not a physical entity after all. All of their energy comes from the Uchiha Suzu's writing wheel eye pupil power. So, under such an indiscriminate map cannon attack, Uchiha's chakra and pupil power are rapidly depleting. It didn't last long at all, and the dozen or so phantom clones were like balloons, being punctured one by one. As for the Uchiha water-stopping body, with the help of the riding wheel eye and the instantaneous technique, he moved back and forth in the gap in the sea of trees. For a while, he was not tied. It can also be seen from this that his strength is much stronger than that of the Uchiha Anahuo. However, the Uchiha Shisui was not the slightest happy, but a little worried. It's not good. The amount of chakra of this Uchiha stream is probably too big. Quote, you can continue to manipulate such a huge tree realm. You can't get close, at all. The corners of Uchiha Ryu's mouth rose slightly. I'm very good at hiding. Try this. In the next second, he also suddenly opened his riding wheel. Then, the hands are sealed again. Under the precise morphological control of the Uchiha flow, the heads of those tree trunks are starting to sharpen. It's like a wooden spear. In the middle of the move, it emits a terrifying sharp light. Moreover, with the dynamic vision aid of the riding wheel eye, the branches are no longer overwhelming. Exclamation mark. Instead, it was as if they all had eyes, and they all rushed to the Uchiha to stop the water with precision. No matter how he instantaneously changes direction, I can't get rid of those wooden spear attacks that follow me. Like you, this should be the first time in history that the riding wheel eye and Mudun are perfectly matched. See this scene. System space. Almost all of the undead widened their eyes at the same time. It's the cooperation of the riding wheel eye and the wooden escape. How can it work like this? Mudun is originally a technique of opening and closing, and one force will drop 10 times. However, at this time, it was almost a precision strike. This is the ninja god who is the best at the wood escape technique, the thousand hands pillar, something that has never been done back then. After all, he doesn't have the same powerful insight as Sharingan. This is the ninja god who is the best at the wood escape technique, the thousand hands pillar, something that has never been done back then. After all, he doesn't have the same powerful insight as Sharingan. Senju Kakuma and Madara Uchiha's faces were a little ugly. No one would think. At this time, the Uchiha stream was already comparable to the thousand hands pillar in terms of Mudun's attainments. But again, anyone can see the upper limit of the future of the Uchiha stream. I'm afraid it's still on top of the thousand-handed pillars of the year. Come to think of it, Senju Kazuma and Madara Uchiha, these two guys who usually have a very bad relationship. At this time, he suddenly felt sympathy for the same disease. One thinks about his own Konoha. One thinks about the eye of the moon plan for yourself. I even sighed at the same time. Alas, ding, 1,000 hands generate a strong worry, emotion, reward, water escape technique power plus 2-0. Ding, Uchiha Madara has a strong worry, emotion, reward, Uchiha physical essence Uchiha Madara version. On the square, the sudden change in the tree realm was completely unexpected by the Uchiha Shisui. In this way, no matter how strong his body is, he can't continue to dodge. No way. Looks, that's all I can do. Uchiha's face was solemn, and he made up his mind. Chakra concentrated on his eyes, and his originally scarlet eyes immediately shone brightly. Immediately after, the three Magatama suddenly spun like an electric fan. Collusion with each other. Change. Eventually, a four-cornered windmill shape is formed. Then, the turquoise chakra surged. Converge into a turquoise defensive skeleton. Wrap the Uchiha Shisui body firmly in it. It's 1,000 hands raised their eyebrows. Ding. Uchiha Izuna has a strong surprise, emotion, reward, plus 10% power of the fire escape technique. Kaleidoscope Sharingan. Uchiha Izumi Na stood up suddenly. Is this little ghost named Uchiha Shisui so young that he opened the kaleidoscope riding wheel? It seems that my Uchiha clan is really full of talents. Cut. Senju sneered. What's the use? It's not infighting yet. When Uchiha Izuna heard this, his face suddenly sank. Shut up. Susanoo. A touch of remembrance welled up in the eyes of the thousand hands pillar. It's a long-lost technique, just in the middle of a few conversations. Above the square, there was a loud bang. One after another, sharp wooden spears frantically bombarded Uchiha's Susanoo. Such a powerful impact. Rao as Susa can protect the body, and the Uchiha Suzumi's body is still constantly being bombarded back. His Susanoo had just awakened, and he hadn't used it a few times at all. It belongs to the half-hung level. It's very reluctant to open a primary form. Moreover, the pupil power is also being consumed rapidly. As Susanoo was constantly bombarded, blood and tears continued to pour out of the water-stopping eyes. Made his originally gentle face a little hideous. How can the strength of the opponent be so strong? Can't even Susanoo resist it. Ding. Uchiha stops water to produce a strong shock, emotion, reward, kaleidoscope riding wheel eye left. Kaleidoscope riding wheel eye left, the advanced pupil technique that surpasses the 3-hook jade riding wheel eye, even though there is only one, still has an amazing pupil power that is difficult to guess. Insight, illusion ability, etc. will be greatly improved. And comes with the Uchiha water-stopping kaleidoscope pupil technique. Don't be a god. System prompt. 1. The host has an immortal physique and a Mu-dun blood inheritance limit, and when using the kaleidoscope, the consumption of vision is negligible, and there is no risk of blindness. At the same time, Bishin's cooldown time has been reduced tenfold. 2. Gather a whole pair of kaleidoscope riding wheel eyes, and your pupil power will go further, and awaken the ultimate mystery of the Uchiha clan, Susanoo. Few. The Uchiha stream, who received the prompt from the system, raised the corners of his mouth slightly. Kaleidoscope riding wheel eye. It's finally waiting for you. Uchiha stops water. What a treasure. When the Uchiha Ryu was intoxicated with the power of the newly awakened, the Uchiha Shisui only felt that the burden on his body was getting heavier and heavier. Make a decision now. No, I can't fight anymore. So, under the protection of Susanoo, he resolutely turned around. Quickly rushed to the side of Uchiha Inahuo and Uchiha Iron Fire. Susanoo suddenly exerted force, shattering the vines that were wrapped around the two of them. Then, Susanoo spread outward slightly, protecting the two of them as well. Let's go. The Uchiha stopped the water and let out a loud shout. The three of them did not dare to hesitate in the slightest. Under the protection of Susanoo, quickly escape into the distance. The Uchiha stopped the water and exploded to get a great reward, and the Uchiha Ryu was in a good mood. You know the times. Quote, I'll let you go today. Quote. He stomped his foot violently. Regain the remaining life force and chakra from the tree realm. The thick branches slowly dissipated. However, the small square, which was originally intact, was completely messed up and difficult to recover. The Uchiha clapped his hands in satisfaction. Finish the work. He turned around and met the adoring gaze of Uchiha Itachi. Nissan, you're amazing. Ding. Uchiha Itachi has a strong worship, emotion, reward, transcribing the seal. As the battle came to an end. System space. Some were silent, others rejoiced. Izuna Uchiha happily praised, good, 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 good. The mood between the 1,000 hands is not good. Seeing that his old opponent was so excited, he suddenly became even more unhappy. Sarcastically, cut, what is there to be happy about? Izuna, do you see? Uchiha's Sharingan has once again lost to my 1,000-armed Kikudo. Madara Uchiha's face darkened. Why do you always feel like you've been shot while lying down? Uchiha Izuna was also stunned, but soon said with a sneer. That thing used by the Uchiha to stop the water, can also be called Susanoo. Obviously just woke up, and it's not proficient yet, right? That's why I was almost blown up by Mu-dun. Quote, besides, what are you 1,000-armed wooden escapes? I'm so sorry. Quote, now, all I see is Uchiha's wooden escape. Izumi na Yu was choked on. Senju's face flushed. As the staunchest Uchiha fighter in the entire ninja world, he was eager to say something. But I don't know how to refute it at all. It took a long time before he held back a sentence, the hateful Uchiha. A dark place that no one knows. Uchiha Obito's face was full of shock, and he froze in place. It took a long time to recover from the battle just now. Just now it's Susanoo from my Uchiha family, right? Legend has it that the kaleidoscope writes the ultimate meaning of the wheel eye. Uchiha Ryu's wood escape technique, can't even Susanoo stop it. Compared to him, my Mu-dun is like a child's play. Quote. Ding. Uchiha Obito produces a strong shock, emotion, reward, Uchiha Fire Array. Obito's voice was full of shock. This is the first time he has admitted that his skills are inferior to others after blackening. Ding. Black Absolute has a strong jealous, emotion, reward, the art of mayflies. Heiju's face was equally solemn, and he muttered. Your mu dun, after all, was obtained through cell transplantation. Quote. It's not the same as this kind of natural awakening. Quote. It is rumored that back then, the Thousand Hands pillar was able to suppress the complete body of Madara Uchiha with the wood escape technique. Quote. Although, this kid is still far from getting there. Quote. But, the potential for the future is immeasurable. At this time, Heiju suddenly had a strange thought in his heart. If the Uchiha Ryu is the reincarnation of an Asura or Indra, I'm just afraid. Opening the eye of reincarnation will be smoother than Madara Uchiha back then. Thinking of this, a killing intent suddenly appeared in Heiju's heart. He originally thought that the Uchiha Ryu was just a lucky little ghost who accidentally awakened Mu Dun. That's why I want to recruit him to the Shao organization and work for myself. I didn't expect. The strength of the Uchiha stream was completely unexpected. Once you grow up in the future, I'm afraid that it will become an uncontrollable existence. This is important for planning. No one can predict what kind of impact it will have. It's better to just kill it. Pity, he himself has little fighting power. And the idiot Uchiha Obito is now obviously interested in Uchiha Ryu and wants to take it under his command. Forget it. Let's take one step at a time. Quote. Heiju shook his head, and could only comfort himself like this. Really, Uchiha Obito licked his lips as soon as he came back to his senses. This Uchiha stream must be recruited into the organization. But, Kuroye frowned. At present, it seems that it is a bit difficult to recruit him. Quote. As you can see, this imp is the heir to the will to fire. Quote. Even for this reason, he did not hesitate to turn against his own people. Quote. Moreover, he is quite valued by the 3 generations of Hokage, especially Shimura Danzo. Quote. If you want him to betray Konoha directly, it's unlikely. I think his only weakness is his younger brother. Quote. Or, threaten him with his brother. When Uchiha Obito heard this, the corners of his mouth twitched slightly. We're going to recruit Uchiha Ryu into the organization and work for us. Quote. It's not to make him an enemy. If you attack his brother, there will be no room for it. Quote. It's just going to make him hate us. Quote. He spread his hands, then what do you say? Don't worry. Quote. Uchiha Obito waved his hand confidently. I've come up with a brilliant idea. Quote. Oh, Ju's eyebrows furrowed slightly, a little surprised. When did this idiot have such a bright brain? Isn't he very fond of Konoha and doesn't he have the will of fire in his head? The corners of Uchiha Obito's mouth lifted into a mocking smile. I'm going to design it so that Konoha abandons him and even hunts him down. Think of that wonderful scene. Konoha, who is my most loyal and beloved, is misunderstood, wanted, and hunted down. The most beautiful thing in my heart is shattered at once. This little imp is going to be quite devastated, right? At that point, I popped up again. Quote. For him who is confused, guide another bright road. Absolutely. What do you say about this script? Quote exclamation mark quote. The corners of Heiju's mouth twitched slightly. In his heart, 10,000 grass and mud horses galloped past. Let's just say, you guys from the Uchiha clan, are all brain circuits so strange. If memory serves, Madara Uchiha at the beginning. That's how you were designed, right? It's all about crushing the beauty in the heart first, and then stuffing the darkness into it. This wave of different paths belongs to the same is. With soil, now you treat others as pawns, playing with other people's fate at will. As everyone knows, he is actually a poor chess piece. Your fate has already been designed. Of course, Madara Uchiha is the same. Of course, these words, it's just thinking about it. When he opened his mouth, he said, wonderful. It's wonderful. Once the framing is successful, I'm not afraid that he won't take the bait. Quote. Good. Amagil admired his wisdom very much, and Uchiha Obito nodded triumphantly. Then do it. After the voice fell, the space distorted. The figures of the two disappeared in an instant. Uchiha Ryu, after returning home, immediately lie down comfortably in bed. Quite skillfully, turn off the live broadcast, and then start counting your today's harvest. It seems that today's harvest is slightly worse than yesterday's. mainly because the rewards on those undead have exploded. Moreover, after the constant destruction of the Uchiha stream, the emotional resistance of these undead has visibly increased with the naked eye. However, on the whole, today's harvest is okay. In particular, the awakening of the kaleidoscope writing wheel I made the Uchiha stream quite satisfied. Unfortunately, there is only one at the moment. Quote, kaleidoscope of the right eye. I'm afraid it's going to fall on Uchiha Obito, or Kakashi. Quote, what the hell are you doing? Hurry up and recruit me. In fact, the reason why Uchiha Ryu used Mudun's technique today was certainly not to show off. The main reasons, it's that he wants to show his value and quickly attract the attention of Uchiha Obito. In this way, the other party will be eager to appear in front of him and solicit him. Then, he can implement the follow-up, mask removal plan, to reap the rewards. But it's all night. Uchiha Obito hasn't even shown up yet, which is a bit unexpected by Uchiha Ryu. Kenji, is it really so calm? Almost at the same time. Uchiha, who was, in my heart and looking forward to it, by the Uchiha stream, took advantage of the night to lurk near the Hokage's office. Prepare to implement your own framing plan. Almost at the same time. Uchiha, who was, in my heart and looking forward to it, by the Uchiha stream, took advantage of the night to lurk near the Hokage's office. Prepare to implement your own framing plan. He plans to find a lucky shadow and use the wood escape to kill it. In this way, you will be able to blame the Uchiha stream smoothly. The members of the Dark Department are killed, and the 3 generations of Hokage must be furious. When the time comes, are you still worried that Uchiha will not defect? However, Uchiha Obito observed for a long time. In the end, it was found that the members of the Dark Department were basically working together with multiple people, which was not very convenient to start. Killing is certainly easy. However, it is difficult to think that God is not aware of ghosts. After all, his main goal is to blame the Uchiha Ryu. If someone else finds out, it will be too much of a failure. Moreover, this kind of thing is blamed once you miss it once. Next time, it won't work. Therefore, Uchiha Obito must be cautious. Looking at Obito, who had been unable to get his hands on for a long time, Heiju was a little speechless. Sure enough, this kid didn't grow at all. Still so stupid. Had to spread out his white clone to find out the news. After a while, Heiju spoke. Forget it, it's hard to start here in the shadows. Quote, it's the same with killing a root ninja. Quote, just now, the clone came with the news that a root ninja had just entered the village and rushed to the root base alone. Quote, great, Uchiha Obito breathed a sigh of relief. Let's go. Squatting near the Hokage's office for a long time made him very irritable. Under the guidance of G, Obito quickly blocked the lucky one. The man is tall with orange hair and a rather cool hairstyle. It was none other than Shimura Danzo's cronies, Yamanaka Stroke. Suddenly blocked by a man in black with a mask, Yamanaka's expression immediately became solemn. He shouted in a deep voice, who is it? Ha, quote. Uchiha Obito's figure slowly walked out of the darkness. An orange mask is revealed, along with the signature scarlet sharing. Writing wheel eyes. Yamanaka's pupils shrank suddenly. Are you from the Uchiha clan? What do you want to do in the middle of the night? Lend your life to it. Uchiha Obito said lightly. Presumptuous. Yamanaka's face turned grim. Uchiha, do you know who you're up against? I'm under the command of Lord Shimura Danzo. I'm sorry. The corners of Uchiha Obito's mouth rose slightly. A mocking smile appeared. It's because it's Shimura Danzo's subordinate, that's why I'm going to die. Quote. Feeling the chill in this person's words, the heart of the mountain stroke shook violently. The reputation of Lord Danzang can't scare the other party at all. And it seems that this person's target was originally the roots of Danzo-sama. Thinking of this, Yamanaka's big hand quickly climbed onto the hilt behind him. Don't be ashamed. Bang. As a root elite, the strength of Yamanaka Stroke is obviously good. The long knife is unsheathed in an instant. Slash at the Uchiha Obito in front of him. Ridiculous moves. Uchiha Obito sneered. Without the slightest movement, he was so stunned, letting the long knife slash at him. Then, even the knife led the people, and all shuttled through. Nani, Yamamita's pupils shrank suddenly. What kind of technique is this? However, he didn't wait for a reaction. The Uchiha Obito behind him suddenly turned around. A wooden spike burst out of his cuff. The art of cuttings. Accompanied by this Dawson's cold voice. In the body of the mountain stroke, sharp wooden thorns appeared in an instant. Everywhere in the body, it is pierced. Bloody. The death is extremely miserable. Even, his eyes were still open, and his eyes were full of disbelief. After all, the opponent's moves are just too unbelievable. Far beyond the realm of ordinary ninjas. I had a stroke in the mountains until I died, and I didn't know how I didn't, have it. Tisk. Quote, Uchiha Obito was very satisfied with the death of the mountain stroke. Some proudly greeted the black jetier. No, come and see my masterpiece. Quote, look at his expression now, how perfect is it? Doesn't it look like I was suddenly backstabbed by a teammate I trusted, and I made an unbelievable look. The corners of Heiju's mouth twitched slightly. Good guys. This set of business really makes you understand. In order to successfully blame the Uchiha Ryu, even the expression of dying is within your calculations. It was perfect. Quote, this expression, coupled with the wooden thorns in the body. It's not Uchiha who did it, I'm afraid no one will believe it, right? When the Uchiha Obito heard this, his expression became even more proud. With a wave of his big hand, he commanded, when it is almost dawn, throw the corpse at the door of the root base. Quote, remember, don't spoil this perfect look. Okay, Baiju replied excitedly, you just wait and see. As he spoke, he carried the corpse of the mountain stroke and slowly sank into the ground. Uchiha Obito covered his face with his hands and laughed wildly. Uchiha Ryu, be my pawn obediently. He. When the sky is just dawning. The entire Konoha was extremely silent, and most of the people were resting. However, the root base is still brightly lit. At the gate of the base, there are still people on patrol duty. Smack. Suddenly, a strange voice came. What person? The root ninja who was on duty, Shin, was taken aback. Shin, Sakai's older brother. Closing parenthesis. Before the words fell, he quickly rushed to the place where the voice came from. As far as the eye can see, it is the corpse of the mountain stroke that has died terribly. Wind. Shin's pupils shrank suddenly, but he is the root elite after all, and he has not lost his mind. Instantly pulled out his long knife and looked around vigilantly. However, with his strength, how could he discover the hidden Baiju? After not finding the enemy for a long time, Shinkai slowly relaxed his vigilance and stepped forward to check on the body of the mountain stroke. In his heart, thoughts raced. The root personnel walk in the dark, performing the most dangerous missions. Dead people, in fact, are a common thing. But let people throw the corpse at the door of the house, this is the first time in the world. This is simply a provocation to the roots. Danzo-sama will be furious. And the letter soon noticed the hideous wooden thorns, and his face changed wildly. Mew done. Is that the little ghost who was taken away by the 3 generations of Hokage in the morning? Or the new Uchiha in the organization? No, I must report it to Danzo-sama immediately. As he spoke, he immediately called other colleagues to guard the scene. He hurried to the depths of the base, came to the bedroom of Shimura Danzo, and knocked on the door. Yaga. The disturbed Tuanzang roared angrily. He suffered a big loss yesterday, and his mood was already very manic. Last night, I tossed and turned all night, and I finally fell asleep, and I was woken up, of course, in a bad mood. However, when he was brought to the scene and saw the body of the mountain stroke, he immediately lost a trace of sleep. On an old face, the killing intent is depressed. However, when he was brought to the scene and saw the body of the mountain stroke, he immediately lost a trace of sleep. On an old face, the killing intent is depressed. I have lost a right-hand man, again. Especially when he saw the hideous wooden thorns in the body of the mountain stroke, his face changed even more. The thought in my heart was racing. Mew done. Who is it? No, wrong. Quote, it's not in line with the child's character, killing people at will, and it's not a monkey's style. Quote, moreover, he had just beaten the old man hard, and it was impossible for him to, in such a short time. That's Uchiha stream. But why did he do that? Shimura Tuanzo frowned, puzzled. Just don't think about it anymore. With a wave of his big hand, he said in a deep voice. No one is allowed to spread this matter. In addition, go to 2 people and bring the Uchiha to the old man. Yes, my lord. Immediately, 2 root ninjas disappeared in place. Straight to the Uchiha clan. He, laughed Baiju, who was hiding in the shadows. Obito, your plan has worked. It's time for the show. Go take a look. The corners of Uchiha Obito's mouth rose slightly. The voice fell, and the figure also disappeared into the whirlpool. At this time, the head of the Uchiha clan was in the house. The Uchiha Ryu was lying on the bed, immersed in a sweet dream. It's just that beside him, there is also a Uchiha stream, sitting in place. It seems that he is also resting with his eyes closed, but in fact, he is always on high alert. This is a wooden clone of the Uchiha stream. It is also a temporary insurance policy for himself. The ninja world is a place where people can die at any time. Especially the ninjas, who are basically high attacks and low imitations. Although his current strength is already very strong, he even has the no seal healing between the pillars. But if someone really attacked, in his sleep, you don't even need any fancy ninjutsu. As long as there is no suffering on the waist or heart. That will definitely hang up on the spot. There is no second possibility. Especially now that he has been targeted by Uchiha Obito and Black Jedi, and the other party doesn't come to solicit him. This made Uchiha Ryu a little worried. NND. These 2 old silver coins, they don't want to find a chance to kill Lao Su directly, right? This kind of thing is not impossible. So, of course, the Uchiha stream will be cautious. And, as it turned out, his caution was absolutely justified. The eyes of the wooden clone opened suddenly. In his perception, 2 figures appeared. Infiltrated the Uchiha clan's residence. I'm rushing towards this room. Solution. The wood clone first awakened the Uchiha stream body. Then he pointed to his chest and took the initiative to lift the doppelganger. The information in the brain immediately enters the body. Uchiha Ryu's eyes narrowed slightly. I didn't expect it, it really made me wait. I'd like to see what tricks you're going to do. As he spoke, he continued to close his eyes and pretend to be asleep. And opened the live broadcast permission of the system space. Soon, 2 root ninjas crept into the room. Looking at the sleeping Uchiha Ryu, the 2 glanced at each other, and a chill flashed in their eyes. The next moment, 2 swords, instantly on the neck of the Uchiha stream. Ding! 1,000 hands between the door to produce a strong ecstasy, emotion, reward, illusion essence. 1,000 hands between the door version. System space. Senju's eyes widened suddenly, and the back shows ecstasy. What do I see? 2 root ninjas actually put their knives on the neck of this Uchiha Ryu. Good, good. Tuanzang. He really deserves to be the disciple of the old man. Although I was deceived before, I was able to react quickly. Discover the nature of this evil Uchiha imp. If you know your mistakes, you can change them. I'll still be a good comrade in the future. Those 2 root imps, what are you hesitating about? Go straight to the knife. Killing this evil Uchiha imp is the greatest contribution you can make to Konoha. The one who knows the 1,000 hands best is none other than his old enemy, Izuna Uchiha. As soon as you look at this guy's expression, you know what he's thinking. Suddenly sneered. Don't dream. Quote, this kid is obviously awake a long time ago. Quote, otherwise, how could we see the outside world? Besides, with just these 2 scrap woods, do you really believe that you can kill the stream? When Chinsho heard this, his face suddenly turned dark. I have to admit, Izuna has a point. Outside. Uchiha Ryu's eyes slowly opened. He hadn't expected that the person who came would be a root ninja. Shimura Tunzang, that old thing, what kind of is he doing? Although he had a blade around his neck, he was still very calm. Calmly asked, what does this mean? What do you mean? Shin pouted. Uchiha Ryu, do you think you'll get away with doing something like that? Huh, Uchiha Ryu looked confused. What did I do? Pretend. Shin sneered. Don't tell me you didn't kill the stroke. The entire Konoha world, no. It should be said that the entire ninja world, there are only a few wooden ninjas in total. Uchiha Ryu, you relied on the wood escape blood limit, not only killed your companion, but also arrogantly threw his body at the door of the root base. If you were so brave at the time, why don't you dare to admit it now? Uchiha Ryu's eyebrows furrowed slightly. You mean, Yamanaka stroke was killed? Quote. Moreover, it is still the wood escape technique. HMPH. Shin Leng snorted, not wanting to talk nonsense with him anymore. It's useless for you to pretend. Quote. When you get to the roots, let's explain it to Danzo-sama yourself. As he spoke, his hand strained slightly. The bright blade immediately got a little closer to the neck of the Uchiha stream. Ha. Quote. Secretly, Uchiha Obito has a full view of this scene. The corners of the mouth are slightly raised. Muttered. Uchiha stream. What would you do in the face of such a dead end? Ding. 1,000 hands generate strong anger, emotions between the pillars. Reward, wood done wood ingot wall. System space. A flash of anger flashed in the eyes of the 1,000 hands pillars. He shouted in a deep voice. Flow, why do you want to kill your fellow villagers? Without waiting for the Uchiha to answer, Senju spoke first. Big brother, are you stupid? This kid is so scheming, how can he kill people casually and give people a handle? What's more, if he really wanted to kill, it would be impossible for him to use the high-profile Mu-dun. Quote. It is even more unlikely that the body will be thrown into the root department. Quote. Obviously, someone is framing this kid. It's clear that the IQ of this Uchiha fighter is quite online. Tisk, that's rare, the Uchiha said with some surprise. I really can't imagine that one day, the second Hokage-sama will speak for me. Quote. Cut, Senju pouted disdainfully. How could the old man ever wronged a good man? And what's the use of the old man talking for you? In the eyes of outsiders, it is impossible for you to wash away the charge of killing your fellow villagers. You wicked little imp, who spends your days thinking about calculations and deceiving people. Quote. I didn't expect that now I was framed. I don't know who did it. Ha ha ha, the Uchiha Ryu replied with a sneer. 1,000-armed old ghost, you look excited, huh? Anyway, it's a Konoha ninja who died, right? As the first Hokage, you don't feel sad, but happy. Where is your will to fire? Did you feed the dog? Phew, said with a sip between the 1,000 hands, nonchalantly. It doesn't matter. Quote. If the old man remembers correctly, it was this mountain stroke that used despicable means to kill the white-fanged imp in the first place. Quote. It's long overdue. Use one of his dog's lives to wake up Tuanzang so that he will no longer be deceived by you little ghost. Quote. It's just to kill you as a traitor. What could be better than that? Ding. 1,000 hands have a strong, proud, emotion, reward, water escape, water prison technique. 1,000 hands version. To say, this guy is indeed extremely smart. It's just a few seconds. He has already analyzed the future script. At this time, between the 1,000 hands, although still on his knees. But it's quite high-spirited. Looking at his younger brother who was excited, his brows furrowed between the 1,000-hand pillars. He said in a deep voice, Door, since you weren't the companion of Flo's killing, how could you gloat and curse him for being killed? Even if he's from the Uchiha clan, he's also a ninja of Konoha too. Moreover, it is obvious that someone is secretly playing tricks now, and even has a wooden escape. Quote. At this time, Konoha is in danger. You think it's a good thing? Is this the awareness that a Hokage should have? Faced with the lesson of his eldest brother, Chinsho shook his head. Big brother, you don't understand. Quote. What kind of intruder is far less dangerous than this evil Uchiha imp? This little imp is so insidious, cunning, extreme, and talented. When it grows in the future, it will definitely be the source of trouble. Take advantage of this perfect opportunity to get rid of him, absolutely all the benefits and no harm. Ha, Uchiha Ryu said with a sneer. 1,000-armed old ghost, you're too happy too soon, aren't you? How do you know that I will not be able to break the situation and clear my suspicions? Besides, quote, you must be too confident in your disciple's mind. Quote, Shimura Danzo, since you can be deceived by such a superficial frame-up. Then it doesn't seem that difficult for me to fool him again and make him believe me. Hearing this, Chinsho was stunned for a moment. Followed by, the corners of his mouth drooped unconsciously, and his face gradually became gloomy. Uchiha Ryu's words seemed to have a silence effect on him directly. Ding. 1,000 hands generate a strong disappointment, mood, reward, water escape, waterfall technique 1,000 hands version. The conversation in the system space seems to have passed for a long time. Outside, in fact, less than 3 seconds passed. Shinsho put the sword on the neck of the Uchiha Ryu and shouted unceremoniously. Let's go. Uchiha Ryu glanced at the blade on the side of his neck, and said lightly. I can go with you to see Danzo-sama. Quote, but, get your broken knife out of the way. Quote, I'll go myself. Quote, HMPH. Shin snorted coldly and shouted sharply. Imp, do you think I'm going to believe you? Be obedient and don't try to play any tricks. The Uchiha smirked, his eyes slightly closed. When I opened it again, it was already scarlet. As soon as Shin saw these eyes, he felt bad, it's not good. Saying that, he was ruthless in his heart and decisively moved the knife to put Uchiha Ryu to death directly. However, this idea of his was only just emerging. I didn't have time to act. His eyes have lost his luster and his expression has become confused. The same is true of his companions. Immediately after, both of them threw their knives aside at the same time. He fell to his knees with a thud. Lord Liu, we are guilty, and we should not. As he spoke, he kowtowed and jerked his cheeks, slapped heavily in the face, and the two of them suddenly came back to their senses. Furious, little ghost, you dared to cast an illusion on us. Ding. Letter produces strong anger, emotions, reward, ninja law super beast fake painting. The Uchiha said indifferently, I've already warned you, haven't I? Now, do you know the gap between us? With your strength, if I really want to escape, can you stop it? Hearing this, the two rude ninjas glanced at each other. They all saw the anger and horror in each other's eyes. Yes, this little devil's strength is so strong. Just a glimpse. The two of them unknowingly fell for the illusion. If the Uchiha had chosen to kill them just now, wouldn't they end up with a stroke in the mountains? Thinking of this, the backs of both of them were instantly soaked in cold sweat. Ding. The letter generates a strong, frightened, emotion, reward, sealing technique, eyeing bomb. Looking at the frightened two, Uchiha Kijang Ryu sneered. That slap just now is my gift to you. Quote, remember, in Konoha in the future, see me Uchiha Ryu. Quote, keep your head down and be a man. Quote, let's go. Quote, now I can go with you to the route and meet Danzo-sama. Quote, as he spoke, he took the lead and walked outside. The two rude elites glanced at each other, and their faces were extremely ugly. This impolite little ghost, relying on his strength, dares to insult them like this. It just doesn't make sense. But on second thought. Later, where are you going to have a future? If you go, you won't be able to let you go. Let's get ready to pay for the stroke in the mountains. Later, where are you going to have a future? If you go, you won't be able to let you go. Let's get ready to pay for the stroke in the mountains. Think of it this way. The two of them were suddenly relieved. A little ghost, a little presumptuous, before he died. As a senior, you should be considerate. The two looked at each other again, and quickly followed the Uchiha stream. Although the Uchiha Ryu said that he would not run, they also know that if the other party really wants to run, they can't stop them. However, out of professional ethics, the two rude elites still maintained due vigilance. Along the way, his eyes were fixed on the Uchiha Ryu. A dark place that no one knows. Uchiha Obito and Kurojiyo looked at each other. Not. This Uchiha Ryu performance is inevitably too calm, right? Why wasn't he worried at all? Don't he know how guilty it is to kill his comrades in the village? Moreover, didn't he realize that someone was framing him? What's next? What to do? Heiju asked, a little confused. What else can I do? Uchiha Obito was helpless. Let's go along and have a look. Quote, this little ghost, why can't I see through it? Two rude ninjas escorted Uchiha Ryu. Trepidation along the way. It wasn't until I stepped into the root base and saw the figure of Shimura Danzo that I relaxed. The letter quickly stepped forward, half kneeling. Danzo-sama, Uchiha Ryu has been brought. Shimura nodded and asked in a deep voice, has he ever thought about escaping? The letter hesitated for a moment. In order to take revenge on the Uchiha stream, he really wants to say, yes. However, out of absolute loyalty to Danzo-sama. In the end, he replied truthfully, no. The old man knows. Shimura nodded. Then he waved his hand and said, everyone, go down. A look of surprise flashed across Shin's face. My lord, in case this little ghost, you. Shimura Danzo sneered and looked at Uchiha Ryu. The gaze was extremely complicated. Don't worry. Quote. I believe that he will not make a move on the old man, the life-saving benefactor. Yes. Shin didn't dare to say more, leading a group of root ninjas, and quickly disappeared in place. Leave the space completely to the two main masters. The Uchiha Ryu first looked down at Yamanaka's body. I secretly said in my heart. Tisk. Mu-dun made a move, steady and ruthless. Even, he deliberately let Yamanaka stroke retain this expression before he died. Uchiha Obito, it's really a wonderful design. For Obito's thoughts, Uchiha Lu's heart is clear. Design a frame-up to allow yourself to defect to Konoha and then recruit yourself into the Akatsuki organization. Though, isn't this just a pain in the ass? As an inherently evil Uchiha. In the face of the solicitation of the Shao organization, can I still refuse? If only you just came over and solicited it. Why go around in such a big circle? Such a complicated framing plan, should you, Kenji, come up with it? Looks. There is a deep gap between myself and my future boss. Thinking of this, the Uchiha shook his head speechlessly. Then, he looked at his current boss very calmly. Shimura's eyes narrowed slightly, a cold gaze like a blade, staring at Uchiha Ryu's body. He really wanted to see it on the Uchiha stream's face, shock, puzzlement, confusion, and so on, and so on. There's a 1 in 10,000 chance that he didn't kill the mountain stroke. But, nope, this child's expression is so calm, so natural. Ding, Shimura Tunzang has a strong anger, emotion, reward, Mu-dun storm spear tree. At this moment, Tuanzang's expression was extremely complicated. Yesterday, just yesterday, he also regarded the little ghost in front of him as his most trusted subordinate. Regard it as your hope for a comeback. In a blink of an eye, the other party gave him such a big surprise. Not only killed one of his generals, and quite arrogantly threw his body at the entrance of the root department. It's just unreasonable. Long, Tuan Zangkai said in a deep voice. Although, seeing your expression, the old man already understands everything. Quote. But I still want to hear you tell the old man in person. Quote. Mountain stroke, you really killed it. The Uchiha shrugged his shoulders and said very calmly. Yes, that's right, I killed the stroke in the mountains. System space. Almost all the undead widened their eyes at the same time. Ding. There is a strong shock emotion between the 1,000-hand pillars, reward, Mu-dun, the technique of cloth bags. Among them, especially among the 1,000-handed pillars, is the most incomprehensible. Not. Why is the old man a little confused? It's not. Did someone else frame you for the death of a stroke in the mountains? Then why are you admitting it now? Soon, the indifferent voice of the Uchiha Ryu came. What else can I do? For the time being, I can't catch the real murderer. Quote. I just said to Tuanzang with red lips and white teeth, I didn't do it. Can he believe it? I won't do this kind of stupid thing that surrenders my trust. Quote. But, 1,000 Hands Pillar was still a little worried. You carry the black pot like this, Tuanzang is only afraid of. It's okay. The Uchiha stream's voice was full of confidence. If I use a little trick, maybe the trust level will increase instead of decreasing. Everyone's eyes widen and watch me operate. The system space fell silent again. But every undead really widened their eyes. For the Uchiha stream, this unconventional operation. They were also curious to see how things would turn out. A hidden place that no one knows. Uchiha Obito's figure staggered. He couldn't help but ask the Black Absolute beside him. Not. Did I hear me wrong? This little imp has just. It is the recognition of. The corners of Heiju's mouth twitched slightly. Yes, you heard me right. Quote. I did admit it. Quote. Ding. Uchiha Obito has a strong, shocked, emotion, reward, sealing technique, untying the tail seal. Uchiha Obito was completely shocked, and this kind of operation. Before that, he had envisioned 10,000 possibilities. Uchiha flow. Whether it's denying it outright, arguing angrily, trying to prove one's innocence. Still in tears, trying to win the trust of Tuanzang with emotion. Or even, in a fit of rage, he directly reversed Konoha. Either way, the Uchiha Obito would not have found it strange. After all, these behaviors have their rationality. But now, Uchiha Ryu directly admitted it. This is really for the Uchiha to bring soil to the end. He never dreamed that there would be such an option. It's not, buddy. Do you know what you're talking about? You killed the mountain stroke. Obviously I killed it. I'm framing you. Frame you. You admit, so directly. I don't even have the joy of success. Ding. Uchiha Obito has a strong, crazy, emotion, reward, done, hell rebellion. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.